apply, not just theoretical. So I'm going to dive into my journey so you can see the evolution of Coach Mike. But we all have an evolution. Change is one thing that's the most consistent in the world, and if you're not changing, the universe will give you opportunity to do that. So I'm going to share 20 years in the business. So I graduated in 2004 with my commerce degree, asked for a school of business. I thought I was on fire. Handed out my resume to different corporate outfits. No one would hire me. Ooh, they want experience first. I thought I got the certificate. It meant something. Well, you got to start at the bottom. So I couldn't get a job. However, the car business, 2 feet in a heartbeat, you're in the business. They don't discriminate, which gave me an opportunity because I had preconceived notions. What the heck am I doing there? This is a temporary stop. Just make a little bit of dollars, then I find my career. I started selling cars and I realized this is actually a great career because it depends on your personality. So I treat people with respect. I believe in karma. What you give, you get back. So by doing that for 5 years, I really felt that this was what my blood was. This was what I should do. But what kept me in the business was the fact that we had ongoing training. You guys have an amazing group. They're investing in your well-being. They're investing in your growth. This is nothing to take lightly. Until you go somewhere that doesn't have it, you'll notice there's a big difference. So if I didn't have training, like you guys are having here on a consistent basis, I didn't find any reason to stay in the business because I felt you have to grow, always. Just like you mentioned, we have to always be growing. So 2004, did that for about 5 years, and then I thought, you know what, I need to grow and expand. My group, we were in a Delara group in Winnipeg, they stopped training. They didn't believe in it anymore. They didn't keep that routine going. So I felt like I need some growth. Right when I was about to leave, I got a phone call. Hey, Mike, there's an opportunity at Winnipeg Honda. Could you come down? I came down. They said, hey, we have a job as a finance manager. We'd like to take the role. I said to myself, sure. That time, that was 2009, it wasn't a glorified position as it might be today. It was just about paperwork. Sales associate. So I was selling cars. Then got into the finance role, and I was at a role for 10 years. I took that job, and I was in 10 years, but training, again, we didn't have training. I took it on myself to take a certified life coach course. I spent $25K out of my bucks just for myself because I felt I needed growth. It wasn't to be a coach. Until 2019, pandemic started, I felt I need a change. I need to grow. But I also felt that my biggest passion is seeing other people grow. So what did it mean? I jumped out. I was making very good money in the finance role. I jumped out into the unknown, and we're going to talk about this unknown and how beautiful it is in a moment. But what that led me to do is create a training program that I felt, look, mindset. A lot of times we're prejudging people, and process. We don't have a process all the time. So I thought these are the two concepts, and I created a training program out of that, and then AutoCanada hired me. Michael Rawlick, I met with Michael Rawlick, and he said, hey, I like your idea. He was the president of AutoCanada. AutoCanada is the largest publicly traded auto group in Canada. So they hired me solely to be their trainer. They flew people 2 at a time to Winnipeg to go through my 2-day training. I was with them for about 2-3 years, so to speak, and their numbers went up, skyrocketed. So I started my own business, F&I Masters, and that's what I'm doing today. But I had a deal with them. I had an idea, they liked my hypothesis, and they were almost going under in 2019. So they said, hey, we have all the resources, you have the ideas, let's partner up. So the plan was after that, after I get proof of concept, to start my business. And that's what I've been doing ever since. It's passionate to me. I don't chase checks. If I chased money, I wouldn't be doing this right now because training is already being offered. It wouldn't make sense. But when you have a something bigger than yourself, you follow your heart and you want to make change in the world, it's funny how resources show up. So we're going to talk about that because a lot of the concepts we're learning today, it's going to take courage to apply them. It's never confidence first. It's courage first. Look in your life before you became a finance manager. It's not confidence. You may have thought, hey, let me give it a shot. But do you realize that everything you give a shot to and you put the work in, it always turns out? Because we are everything. So my job is to help unleash us, get us out of our own way so we can see the blessings that the universe is trying to deliver. And more so, get out of the customer's way. Sometimes we're making decisions for that customer. They can't even make their own decisions, but they're bright enough to do that if we give them that information. So 2022, and then last but not least, Georgian College, they got wind of my material. They reached out to me, so I'm a faculty staff with Georgian College. I travel with them with the new and used car management course. But they reached out to me recently to create all their F&I curriculum. because they like the way I teach it, they like the way I produce it. Customer friendly, the customers rule, they pay the bills. But again, sometimes we're in their way. So I teach, you don't sell nothing. You give awareness, and the customer will know what to do. So let's dive through. Any questions before we start? Okay, so this one I always like to make clear because we come in here with sometimes different attitudes, different thoughts, not sure what to expect. Well, recognize this course belongs to you. You got to take responsibility for your results. We all have different years of experience. We all absorb information in a different way. So it's up to you to find out, how could this work for me? If you're unsure, ask questions. We're in this together. I tell you right now, the reason why I did this training, I'm sick of theory that you can't apply. Customers change, everything changed. We're doing the same stuff. We're expecting different results. Doesn't make sense. I'm not going to sell you on nothing today. I'm going to share concepts, and you're going to have to look at those concepts from what you know, and you're going to see if there's another way to do it. And that's how you change. And the same with the customer. You don't have to sell. You share information, they will see the change that they need. So remember that. Ask questions. Now, keep asking repeatedly, how can I make this work for me? How do I make this work for me? Because there is a way. If you look at something, we don't see the world how it is. We see it how we are. And often if we're stuck in that limitation inside, we can't see the blessings out there. So it's up to us to make sure that we see that. And this big one is stay positive and open to new ideas. And why is this important? If you came in here, oh, training sucks. I'm thinking of other things. Doesn't matter how high of a level of information I share, you can't even receive it. Just have an open mind. That's all you need. And the universe will deliver. And this is so important. We don't see the world how it is. We see it how we are. That honestly, if someone's like very negative, they take a look outside and you say, what do you see? All I see is dandelions. Okay? Someone else, positive attitude. They take a look outside. What do you see? Look at those beautiful dandelions. So it's up to you to take out that information. But I'm definitely going to deliver you stuff that you could absorb. But we're doing role play today because the great aim of education is not knowledge, it's taking action. So here you're going to learn a few skills. You're going to role play those skills. But when you get back, you'll be able to role play. You'll be able to understand. You'll be able to know what you're doing versus getting a bunch of theory here, then going back and trying to figure it out in front of the customer. So the theme here is the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle. And that's what the theme of this is. Another theme is we don't have work problems. We have personal problems showing up at work. So we're going to address some of these things. And the idea is to be an observer of how you're getting involved. And once you're an observer of some of the things you're doing, you just can't do them anymore. So I'm going to share some of those insights as we move along. Here's the major topics: mindset, success selling insurances, transitioning into that menu, and the objection handling. So success selling insurance, we've been taught a certain way to sell insurance. I'm going to share you a way that's friction-free. You got 100% buy-in with the customers when you're asking them what coverage they don't have, and it allows you to present coverage in a meaningful way for the customer. So that's going to be a little different maybe from what you experienced. Transitioning to the menu, when a customer comes into the office, we sometimes start getting into that discussion right away. Selling products, but we have to understand that customer is not comfortable. We have to set the stage with them. We have to let them know what's going to happen. I'll share you some word tracks that's going to allow you to see how to take that customer smoothly through the process without friction. And objection handling, this is one of the hottest ones because honestly, when a customer says no, what do we resort to? A lot of times it's one product, two products. Well, in this case, when a customer says no, you're going to be able to ask for it all again, no friction. Customer says no again, you're going to ask for multiple products again. So I'm going to show you that what you're going to gain from this is when a customer says no, they want their payment to stay the same, that's actually what you want because it's going to lead to more awareness. Okay. The thinking, actions, and procedures that got us where we are today are not fit to get us where we want to go tomorrow. Please, someone tell me, what does that mean to you?
If we continue behaving the way we are. 2 minute about Pete and repeat. Pete falls out, who's left over? We repeat the behavior. We get the same result constantly. So how do we get out of our cocoon and make changes?
Yeah, you said it. Some people do that for 30, 40 years. The moment they make change, life changes. So that's what we're going to accomplish today. Anyone else, what does that mean to you? Always be changing. We always be growing. Adapt or die. We're going to talk about some of those scenarios because it's real. Change is inevitable, suffering is optional. That loop you're talking about, suffering. Change is painful, yeah, but you get immediate results. You get inspiration. So it's important for us to adopt the change. And the world is so beautiful. We all know that we want to do something more. We always know we could do something better, but often we don't volunteer to do that. And what happens? The universe gives us a scenario so we could dive into that. So we're going to dive into, again, some of the reasons why change is inevitable and where we see it. So cell phones. Who remembers this cell phone? I sure do. Cell phones evolved. Humans evolved. Cars evolved. What about our processes? Are they the same? That's where the change needs to be. Customers are educated. They're more educated nowadays. They can't have the same thing. So change is the most intrinsic part of human experience. You have to change to know what you're capable of. You have to change to know that, look, I had a limiting belief. I didn't know I could be a finance manager. All of a sudden, you took the role and you're a finance manager. You allow yourself to say, wait, what was I thinking? You have to understand and embrace change because it opens doors for you. It's going to look scary. But the reason why is because we're 1 out of 8 billion people. All we know is our own experience. And often enough, when we look at our own experience, we see the tough times and we think that, oh, life is tough. Not knowing that, were those tough times or were those skill development? You hardly learn anything in good times. So we develop skills, we call it tough times. So what happens if you stay the same, what's there for you? It takes courage to get out of that zone. And again, I'm going to talk about the importance of the courage as we move forward. Why does change matter? It's a catalyst for growth. It navigates life's blind spots, adaptability, resilience. When you overcome something, you get to look at yourself and say, hey, look what I'm capable of. So I'm forcing this conversation because if we look at the life, change has always been that catalyst to growth. Now, we're 1 out of 8 billion. Like I said, we only know what we know. Now, we call it the comfort zone often, right? Because it's what you know. Even though you might not like it, it's better than what you don't like, what you don't know. Theory. Now, look at this. This comfort zone we talk about, how comfortable is it being the same? How comfortable is it wanting more and knowing that you feel stuck? Sorry, I can't help with that. She can't even help with that. Okay? Now look at the uncomfortable zone that we call. I think we've been programmed. Every time you jump into that uncomfortable zone, doesn't it give you all the hope, the desire to change, the newness you need? When did it fail you? The grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. Tell me once when you actually made the change and you put in the work that it didn't work for you. So if you look back in your life, you realize there's a consistent. Change is the best thing for you. Staying the same is where the suffering is. So in order to know what you're made of, you have to make that change. Now, transformative power of change. It breaks the barriers, limitations. We all say things about ourselves until we do something and then all of a sudden it's not true. Why are we saying these things? We're all capable beyond measure, but guess what? It doesn't matter. It's what you tell yourself. So when you break the barriers of change, it allows you to know what you're capable of. The reason why I'm here today on this stage is because I did things in the past that I thought was impossible, and I did it and I achieved it. So I thought, I don't care what anyone says. There's a formula. There's a formula. You know what the formula is? You got to dream. You got to pick your destination. JP spoke about goals. You got to have a goal. You'll notice if you have a goal and you just do what you need to do, the universe conspires to bring you the rest. Literally. You came into the F&I office, conspires to bring you all the tools you need. Look in your life. So I say look in your life because it's not my words. It's look in your own life. Things always work. The grass is greener where you water it. And you got to consider, what are you watering? Some of us may have some product knowledge issues. It's at the side. We're wondering why we're not getting better. It's obvious. Water the grass. Also, embracing change, it makes you have to go beyond unfamiliar. What's familiar is not doing it for us. When we do role play, some of you might feel, a little different, a little uncomfort. Guess what? That means you're going into new territory. If you're comfortable, there's nothing in it. Look at all the good times in your life. What did you get from it? It's the trials and tribulations where you develop skills. If you make a dream to have a higher average, all of a sudden you're going to see conflict. You're going to see what you might call conflict. You're going to see customers, maybe interactions that aren't working in your favor, but it's allowing you to develop the skills. So life is beautiful when you look at it that way. But with the concept of here, change is inevitable. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And we're going to dive into that today. Okay, well, look at some idea. Look at some of the companies we know. Apple, they start off as a computer company. I mean, I got a cell phone. I got everything Apple. It's like an ecosystem. Once you have one piece, it's like you have to get all the rest. They adapted. They evolved with the customers. Amazon started off with books. I probably have 3 packages at home from Amazon. I don't even go to the mall anymore. Tesla interrupted the business. Electric cars. Look at this concept of change, right? Blockbuster. Oh, they wanted to stay the same. Netflix actually approached them, apparently, with an idea. No, we got this. Now somebody tried to rent me a movie at Blockbuster. So again, change is inevitable. It's one of those things we have to understand. So the first portion of this is going to be just mindset. And the idea of it is not going to necessarily teach anything new, but it's a lot of times reminding us of where we came from, what we need to do, how can we get our lives better. And then we'll take a break, and when we come back, then we're going to get more into those lessons that we do some role play. So far, does this make sense to everyone? Is this resonating? Okay, awesome. Because the job is to make sure that we're all communicating and getting along. You have to get along. Key concepts, mindset matters, and the customer-centric approach. So we're going to talk about those in this next section. Now, just remember some of these key concepts. The number one goal isn't to blow out gross. It's to create enthusiastic, loyal, lifetime customers. And some of these things we're doing with these customers aren't creating that enthusiastic, loyal, lifetime customers. They got to come back. They got to be repeat business. So there is a way to still maintain a good amount of growth and still have those happy customers if you let them drive the process. So I'm going to, again, share you later methods and ways you could help the customer drive the process. Building trust is a key and foundation to lasting relationships. Are we building rapport? That's probably one of the most important. Remember I said we're 1 out of 8 billion. What do we know about another person? But yet we're sitting there, blue shoes, yellow Nikes, black hat. He's just buying warranty. We can see customers and we just present based on what we feel. So again, there's another way to do it. When you build rapport, somebody shares their life story, and guess what? You could use their information to tie down the sale. And that's the whole point, to engage with your customers. They're going to share information, and you use that to make it make sense to them through painting pictures and telling stories. Knowledge without application is just information. Be careful of this. You're going to say you know a lot of things, but if you're not applying it, who cares? Realistically, right? I'm a big component of the law of attraction. You literally dream something, you'll attract it in your life. And you know, it's so smooth that you live, if you look where you are right now, it was a dream one day. But it's so smooth. Someone would say, yeah, Mike, that's the secret. That's the law of attraction. I'll say, are you doing it? Oh, no. Who cares? Who cares? So just remember what you know and what you're not applying, and that's often the bridge to your success right there. Because knowing is not enough. It's a false sense of comfort. The difference between pressure and persistence is technique. They say you got to ask 5 times for the deal, but how do you do it? So when a customer says no, are we asking multiple times? And if we are, how are we doing it? Because it's not what you do, it's how you do it. I'm going to show you how to do that. Customer, you share all your product, they say no. You share them all again, they say no. You could at least get another 4 or 5 products and share. No friction, no friction. And I know it sounds funny, but we're going to dive in. Transparency is in your advantage. Sometimes we're scared to be transparent. Now, I don't mean paperwork. That's easy. Here's the numbers, here's this. What I mean by transparent is our customers need to make a well-informed decision, and they can't sometimes with what we're sharing them. And what do I mean? You have a warranty. Okay? You tell the customer has a gap when they say no. So you present warranty, the customer says no. Well, often we're telling them how great the warranty is, what it could do for them in easy to understand terms, but the customers still don't understand the impact of why they need it. We need to show the impact. So when you start showing the customer, hey, look, Labor is $145 an hour. Parts, we're not fixing stuff, we're replacing it. So parts is approximately double what labor is. When you put them together, that's like $400 and something per hour. So what's a minor repair? Say a 5-hour job, that's about $2,000. Oh, I didn't know that. You'll see that when you root stuff in actual awareness and information, the customers now will understand. You create that gap. And because you're transparent, we're going to talk about what information does to people and why transparency is important. They need to know what could happen if they're going to make a decision today on that. Because if they know that certain things could happen out of their control, then they could pay an ounce of prevention today. But some of the ways we're presenting things, the customers just say no and they leave, and then something happens. I didn't know it could be like this. So again, it's not what we're presenting, it's how we're presenting it. A vehicle is an item that expresses one's identity. I think we sometimes forget this. We're in the car business. We got lots of cars. Look, all white cars. But to the customer, no. If you ask them why they buy the car, look at what they'll share. They'll actually share you some good stuff. Hey, I like the technology in the car. It's so great. I love the safety features, the color, all these kind of things. Important information. Why? Because later you could tie it down to the sale and make it make sense to them. You can't tie down anything to the sale if you're going on what you think the customer wants. But if you ask them, they will tell you. That's why for those who are new, there's nothing to sweat about. It's not about experience. You ask the customer the right questions, you're going to get the right answers. Okay? No sale to be had, says Coach Mike, and we're going to jump into that in the next few slides. But I just want to remind you, we're not in the car business. We're in the people business. Doesn't matter if you're Mazda, Honda, Chrysler. Sometimes we think, oh, our customers are so different. They're people. And why is this all unique and cool? Because people have feelings. Do you know the only time we change is when there's discomfort? So look at sometimes we're presenting life and disability. Hey, this is life coverage. If you die, don't worry. We got you. The customers could hardly feel that. Like, what is this? It's a disconnect. Hey, knock on wood, death happens. If you die, the car goes to the family as an asset instead of a liability. There's a way to present your stuff where the customers could absorb it. So just remember, and that goes to, if you just say how great the product, paint protection, it's amazing. Look, it covers the car, it makes the car shiny, everyone's gonna love it. The customers, yeah, okay, no problem. It hardly gives them any concern. I say, hey, paint protection is one of those things that, at the end of the day, what do you put on your skin to protect from the sun? Sunscreen, well, it's like sunscreen for the car. At the end of the day, when you trade the car in, your value is going to be based on the appearance as well. So you have to give the customers more reason. But when you talk about some of the hardships, like for instance, the average repair is about $2,000. Here's why. Parts, labor, you add them up, boom, 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 boom. Discomfort. Oh, now they have a solution. I'll put it in even plain sense. I have a bottle of Advil right here. Let's just pretend this is a bottle of Advil. You came into my office, you have a headache. You see the Advil, you might say, hey, Mike, can I have one of those? Of course you can. And look what's happening a lot of the times. Customers coming in, no headache. Here, take a few of these. Doesn't work that way. But look at this. Sometimes we're just too soon. The Advil's here. Someone doesn't have a headache. Share information. Let them know how it could be. They're going to be discomfort. Now your Advil will make sense to them. So sometimes we're just an inch too fast, an inch too quick. We're ready to dive in. So the method that I teach is going to allow you to make sure that customer slows down. They know you have a message to deliver. They're open to that message, and there's no friction. So a lot of times, again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not the title on the door, finance manager, it's how you do the job. Some finance managers are running a fraud out of their office. So it's how you do the job. Okay, no sale to be had, Coach Mike says. So let's dive into this because I feel like this is where this set of slides here is going to allow you to see another way, I think, to present and another way to connect with your customer. And another way to have the confidence that you're not invested in the sale, you're invested in their understanding of the issue. Now, feelings drive change. You either create the gap or the customer will. So what does this mean? Again, customer says no to your products. It's actually 100% legit. Because it's from their perspective. It's based on maybe what their uncle said, their own experience. Whatever the reason is, their no is solid. Now, if you say how great the product is and how wonderful it is and how shiny it is, it doesn't move that no. They just say, okay, no problem. Oh, but the average repair is about, parts is this, labor is that. When you put them together, average repair is about probably $2,000. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know. Information increases their gap. How many people in here had a customer say no at one point and then eventually say yes? That's proof. It's information. Why would they say no, then yes? Something changed. So what does it mean? You don't need the tactics, the theatrics. You just need to provide information. Someone says no, you be cool about it. You relate to them and you present. So here's an example I'm going to share with you. So I'll give you an idea to think about. Say you go to Mexico tomorrow. You look at your laptop, it says plus 35 degrees. Ooh, that's nice. Under it says the cartel shooting random international guests. Come at your own discretion. Guess what? Some people will cancel the flight, for sure. And those who do go, do you think they're going with a smile? They'll be like, okay, let's go, get out of the airport quick. Right? Makes sense. Because they knew that information. Now, guess what? Imagine you're going to Mexico. It's 35 degrees, cartel's still randomly shooting, but you didn't look at that information. You're going to the same place with a smile on your face. Now, how is this real? I'll show you a real situation. I wear 2 watches for a reason. When I left my career and I reinvented myself, I bought this watch because it symbolized that. I was 40 at the time. It was 40, 2020. There's a lot of symbolism behind it. 2020, I got this watch. Now, before 2020, well, March 2nd, I got it about March 1st. Before March 1st, 2020, I said, I'll never have an iPhone watch. This is ridiculous. Somebody calls me, I got to be looking at this. I felt it was too much We're too connected, I feel. And that's what I felt. So anyway, I met with my friend 2 days after. So I met with my friend on February 28th. And we met, and he said, Mike, what's your plans? The pandemic's here. Oh, this to me is an opportunity. Because while everyone's scattered, I'm going to work on my workout routine. I'm going to work on my spirituality. I'm going to work on my physical, my relationships. This is all what I said to him. And I said, for my physical, I hired a personal trainer. The trainer starts with me on March 2nd, I said. And my goal is to go every second day for a year. And I know I probably can't do it. That's why I hired a trainer. And he said to me, hey, I'm working out in my basement too. And I've been using my watch, like it helps track the different workouts. And as soon as he showed me that, I'm like, the next day I went to buy the watch because I saw what it could do for me. Best thing I ever had in my life. It pushed me to areas I didn't think I could achieve or accomplish on my own, because when you're accountable and you see that a friend did a workout and you didn't, you just want to go do one. So what am I saying? I hated the thing in theory. I didn't want it. There's nothing I wanted to do with it, and it ended up to be the best thing I had. Customers don't want warranty. They don't want gap. They don't want none of these things. They want what it does for them. They're going to say no. I said no. They're going to say no. It's up to us to make it make sense for them. So when a customer says no, it's not no. No right now based on what you told me, but if you give me some more information, I'll consider it. But are we doing that? Are we respecting that process? Or we're taking their no as thinking they have their F&I needs figured out? We're the professionals. We have a duty of care. So when you see this lenses, here's why I put this on here. Imagine you're wearing a blue set of glasses. Your customers, what are they going to see? They're going to see blue. Of course. They're only wearing blue set of glasses. We're professionals. We got a red set, a yellow set, a purple set, orange set, indigo set. We could name all the colors. All we're doing is this. Here, try these on. What do you see? Oh, I see red. Yeah. Try those. Oh, I see orange. Guess what? If you're giving someone enough perspectives, they will know the right thing to do. But instead, we're not always giving them the tools. We're keeping some behind, and we're giving them, and sometimes we're playing them like they don't know what they're doing. So are we equipping our customers? So that's the motive. We're consultants. You don't sell. You don't need to. When a customer says no, they're requesting more information. So when I teach the process, it's about when you first present your products, streamline it. Customer says no, then you bring out the tools. But often enough, we're bringing out the tools too early, too fast. And when the customer says no, we have nothing left. So that we're going to dive into, especially when we get into the role plays, but it's a concept that we're trying to understand for now. Painting pictures and telling stories, a thought is realer than something you could touch. It's the same thing. Like, for instance, we're all capable beyond measure, but what are we telling ourselves? That's what trumps it. Before I was a finance manager, I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. I think I can. And then after I stepped into the role, I became it. So what are we telling ourselves about ourselves? Because when you paint pictures, you allow the customer to see the experience. And I'll give you an example how powerful it is. You know, customers sometimes they come in the office and they don't want to buy stuff. It's like they're ready to say no. They're ready. Okay? I want you to be the same way. Don't think of what I'm going to say right now. Just like the customers are going to say no. Don't think of a pink elephant. Did you think of what? Impossible not to. Don't think of a blue monkey wearing yellow Nikes and a Blue Jays hat. It's impossible. Now, I know it sounds a little silly. Some of you had a little smirk on your face. Well, when we build rapport with the customer at the beginning, and you ask the customer, what are you going to use the car for? I'm just going to use it to go to work and back. Anyone else driving with you? My son drives it. He probably goes to he's just going to go to Halifax to play hockey on the weekends, but that's just the weekends. Yeah, no problem. You heard this information at first. Later, when you're painting pictures and telling stories, hey, by the way, your warranty covers all your mechanical, like I mentioned. We don't have mechanics, we have technicians now. They just plug things in and plug out. It's just that easy. Oh, you also have roadside assistance. So remember you said your son's going to play hockey in Halifax? Well, if it's minus 30 outside, he doesn't have to be outside brushing off traffic, changing a tire, unsafe. Just call roadside. They'll come pick him up. They're picturing little Tommy brushing off traffic. When you paint a picture and tell a story, someone's at the scene. When you talk about paint protection, what do you put on your skin to protect from the sun? Sunscreen. On your vehicle, we drive the car in the shop. We take this paste and we put it all over the vehicle. And after it sits on there for a while, we wipe it off and it leaves this thin line. Imagine this thin line on your vehicle that protects it. Guess what? They just saw the application. It's different from saying paint protection. But when you paint the picture and tell the story, people have to see it. They can't not see it, and it allows them to put them on the driver's seat. But the catalyst to that information is the building rapport at first, because then you could paint the picture so they could see it and they could put themselves at the wheel and make the decision. But instead, sometimes when we don't build the rapport and we don't know the situation, say they're in Manitoba, we could say, hey, if you're ever in BC in the mountains and your car's stuck, don't worry, we'll tow you out. They're never in BC. They can't relate to the situation. They can't even see the situation. So painting pictures and telling stories is a real tool we have that often is misguided. And the pictures we paint of ourselves, we got to consider what those are. Because if they ain't Picasso's, we got to look at some adjustments. Don't mind read. You don't need to mind read. It's not in your favor, but it's also disrespectful. We have one life out of 8 billion. How can we look at somebody else and know it's the issue without asking them? It just doesn't make sense. It's backwards. So what do I mean by this? Create awareness, then ask for the sale. Customers are intelligent enough to know what they need. Let's pretend Susie's across the street there. It's lunchtime. I got to figure out what Susie wants to eat. Now, I have roast beef sandwich, I got pierogies, and I got chicken noodle soup here, okay? Hey, Susie, hungry? Yeah, okay. Give me 1 sec. I'll do some self-talk. Last people took roast beef sandwich, so obviously she'll take that. Roast beef sandwich? Oh, no? Susie says no, we're a little discouraged. Okay, no problem, but we know we have to go over all our products. Okay, 1 second. What do I like? I like pierogies. Okay. Pierogies? No? Okay, I'm a little animated, but I want to get the point across. Pierogies? No? Okay, now we're discouraged. Susie's like, okay, what else is he got to go? And we're worried about CSI. But we know we got to go over all our products. So the last one. Okay, 1 second, Susie. Oh, gosh. What's a spiff on chicken noodle soup? You're probably going to say no about chicken noodle soup. Okay. We didn't relate to Susie. Didn't make sense. She didn't even get involved. We're so professional. We're just throwing stuff at the dartboard, thinking we know what's going on. Susie says no still. She leaves unprotected. No food. We're upset. Group's like, what's going on? Here's another way to do it. Hey, Susie, hungry? Okay, yeah, okay. We have roast beef sandwich. This bread was just baked this morning. That's probably what you're smelling right now. The pierogies, that's Baba's favorite. It's been in the family probably 20 generations deep. And that chicken noodle soup is the one that they sell at the farmer's market. You know, the one that everyone's ranting and raving about. Susie, what fits your taste buds? What do you want? Susie will pick. Susie will pick. Yeah. Imagine your parents said, hey, you need to be a doctor. You need to be a lawyer. You need to be you'll be like, parents, what's going on? What's going on? But imagine they just gave you job descriptions. Wouldn't you look through them and know what you want? What imagine you went to a restaurant? Hey, do you want the steak? Do you want the soup? Do you want the salad? They'll be like, what's going on? They give you a menu, you choose. Are we giving our customers that menu? And that's gonna make the difference. It's treating them with respect, knowing that they can make the best decision. We all have the answers to what our life destiny is within us. Are you helping the customer pull it out? Are you pulling it out? Because it's in you already. Someone you're just a few questions away. Those who fill out this discovery sheet that I sent, well, the reason why I do that is not just for me, because you have all the answers within you. But when I ask those sheets on the sheet, I say, what do you want to get from training? You have to pull it out. Why did you get into business? You have to pull out. Are we getting our customers to pull those things out? Because they have them within them. Okay? Last but not least, the high gross per unit versus low gross per unit finance managers. The difference is customer engagement, objection handling skills, a big one, and cash, confidence, attitude, skills, and habits. Are you upgrading your skills? Some of the sheets say, hey, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I'm not good at this. Well, we know we're not good, but why is it staying there on the back burner? And then we're gonna say, hey, I don't know why my gross is like this. Look, if you just work on those, you got gross. So sometimes we're looking to outside instead of inside. Look no further than yourself for the answer. But confidence is a killer because honestly, imagine I'm up here, same words. You gotta create awareness for the gap. Feelings drive change. You either create the gap or same words, but how are you delivering it? When you say I went over warranty, how did you go over warranty? Because there's a difference, right? So just make sure we're aware of this because the change we're looking for is within. It's not outside. It's not outside. And you're gonna notice after you take some stuff from this today and you apply it, especially the objection handling, you're gonna see change right away. But it's the same folks. Right? So you have it within it. You just have to have the tools and apply them. The stats are in our favor and beautifully in our favor. 5%ers, the 10%ers, and we know the 85%ers. The hagglers, the 5%ers. They're one of the best groups. And I'll tell you why. They keep you in check. They keep you humble. They keep you knowing what skills you need to develop. If we didn't have 5%ers, everyone would be divas. I probably as well. They keep you in check. They make you have to work. And these ones, if you get sometimes $200 from them, you feel like you won the jackpot, right? So just remember, they have their role in place. Now the laydowns, they often get abused by the experts. And what do I mean by this? Laydowns, you do a great presentation, you present your product, you're gonna present the products to the customer, and before you do, you're this smart. Warranty, I'll take 2,000 off of that, 1,000 that, and 300 off that. Okay. Present. Yeah, I'll take it. Guess what? They would have took the whole kit and caboodle. What's the point in having skills if you're pre-discounting? The stuff is value pricing. It doesn't make sense to have skills. To have that conversation, you have to have the conversation with the customer. So you got to present all your products full value and let them choose. Okay? Now, guess what? Most customers are in this section anyways. They'll buy if it makes sense. They're not looking at the dollar amount. If they did, when you presented warranty, they'd say no, and they would not say yes again. Some people got yeses again, so it's more than that. So they just want it to make sense. That's all. Process and confidence. Paint pictures, tell stories, build rapport. You can't skip a step. You skip a step, you skip a deal. So at the end of the day, that's all they want. And again, the proof is in the pudding. We had customers who said no, and then they said yes. 85% of them is like that. It's actually pretty beautiful that people are reflex to say no. It's a reflex. But if you don't go back again, you'll never get the yes again. But a lot of times they say no again. We feel like they have their F&I needs figured out. Unfortunately, they don't always. We are the pros. We have all that information. Art of communication is one of those things that is very important. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Imagine I said to you, I'm sorry. You'd be like, oh God, you're not sorry, bro. You're not sorry. So we got to communicate. When we're communicating with our salespeople, with each other, our coworkers, we have to understand that our body language, tone and inflection really trumps the words. So what am I getting at? You have to be authentic. The customers could sense fake. People around you could sense fake. So sometimes we have products that we might not believe in, but we're presenting it. They could see it all over your face. But imagine you just not believing in a product, you're making the decision for that customer. We got to consider that, right? Because it allows us to know how we're getting in our own way. Okay. How do we become better? So let me just dial in to see exactly where we are, make sure we're on pace. Get y'all out for a break soon. Yeah, we're perfectly on time. Good. How do we become better? Ooh. I think someone alluded to this earlier. It's that feedback. We're in that feedback loop. We're doing the same thing over time, expecting different results, right? Well, how do you break out of that? Well, first of all, just know feedback is a gift. It's an honor. It tells you what to work on. It's an honor. After all my training sessions, I never miss one feedback form from the group because I don't care how I think I am. I want to care what the group does. And if I look at all those feedbacks and there's a common element in each, I know what to change. I don't even have to think. People around me will tell me, right? So what are we doing every day in expecting different things? Now, why do I say it's a gift? Because it triggers you to know what you need to work on, but sometimes we're not willing to go there. If you go there, that's where all the change is. The universe is actually delivering it to you. It's beautiful. It will let you know where your issues are, and if you deal with it, you get rid of it. If not, it keeps repeating itself. So just remember that feedback loop. If your numbers aren't where they're at, you got to change something. You got to change something. Okay? It's just obvious, right? Course correction. We're not our greatest aspirations. We're our minimum standards. Doesn't sound so cute. Well, I'll give you an example. Look at our bank accounts. We'll have a certain amount of dollar that we're used to, we're comfortable with. What happens when it gets lower? It's discomfort, right? See how discomfort provokes change? Oh, all of a sudden, okay, let's get our resources together. We got to do something, family. We got to make more money. Look at our homes, clean, right? Too dirty, discomfort. Oh, let's clean up the place. Too clean, we're throwing a jacket over here, a keys over here, getting it back to that minimum standards. JP mentioned goals. Ooh, you need goals? The universe has to know what to deliver you. If you have a $3K goal, okay? Guess what happens when you get $2,500 deal? You're not smiling. You're not high-fiving nobody. You're knowing, shoo, what did I not do? It pushes you. Now, what happens if you have no goal? $500 deal? Hey, look what I did. Hey. You need a goal to drive you. Now, here's another example. Can I tell you your life is designed to spec? Some people might not like that, but your life is designed to spec. Here's an idea. If you go to the airport and you jump on a random plane, where would you end up?
Dead like the Sky King.
Random spot is what I'm hearing, right? Random plane. I go to Winnipeg airport and I jump on a plane and I don't know where it's going. I just feel around and they let me go on a plane. It's not going to go to Hawaii. You need connecting flights. You need to book that. It's going to go somewhere probably the same or maybe even worse than where I'm at. Okay? Probably laughing because, yeah, Winnipeg, how do you get worse than that? That's what I heard there. Right? But what if I bought a ticket to Hawaii? Where would I end up? Okay. When you look at someone looks at their life, how did I end up here? Where are you going? What do you mean? You got your life random. Look at everybody here who set goals. What happened? You either creeped up to them or you got them. You have to set goals. Now, do you have to? Here's one of the things about goals. Sometimes when we try to set goals, we use our own experience to gauge if we could do it or not. But the only thing we only have one experience, so that's why we're so limited in thought. So I always say this. Here's a formula. Take yourself, teleport yourself to that goal. So then you have to don't think how do you need to get there, okay? All you have to do is what you think you need to get there. Watch how life brings you resources. You'll see it all the time. You made a decision to be a finance man, whatever you did in your life. All you did was decide. You had the courage and watch how the universe brings resources. It's actually a thing. It's actually a thing. Tell me when your worst nightmares happened. They don't. So we're always thinking of the future being this doom and gloom, but it never presents that way. So again, if you look in your own life, look no further. So greatest aspirations versus minimum standards. The cool thing about setting goals is if Tommy at a Honda store is doing $3K a copy and you're at this Honda store and you're doing $1,000 copy, you'll never relate to Tommy because you think, hey, I don't know how their setup is. I don't know what's going on over there. Obviously, they're cheating or something. But look, when you apply the skills that you have today and you increase your gross, guess what? Try to go backwards. Try to go down to where you were before and be happy about it. So when you break your own glass ceiling, you can't go back without being discomfort, without thinking, what am I doing? So you have an imperative sense to have to beat your goals so that you have this benchmark, because it's hard to go back. Where you're at right now, if your numbers are lower, you're not going to feel good. So you have to push yourself to inspire yourself. And you have to leave your comfort zone to do that. A ship at port is safe. We're safe where we are. But is that what you were made for? Is that what you were made for? Right? You can't change somebody in your life around you for the most part. You could give them advice, they ain't gonna do much. But the moment you increase yourself, the moment you make change yourself, you inspire others. They'll be asking you, what are you doing? So we have a duty to do that for those around us. So I want you to remember, though, it's courage before confidence. It's never confidence first. But it may seem scary, but think of the times you went into your uncomfortable zone. Gave you all the hopes, the desires, the newness you needed, and the change. So it's not scary. To me, what's scary is where we're at, staying the same, not knowing what we're capable of. Okay. A goal properly set is halfway reach. I could drop a tear because when I was in the finance office, I told my partner, one day I want to be an F&I coach, going to different dealerships. And I said it and I didn't think how it was possible. I'm like, I'm not a trainer. People don't listen. All this kind of stuff. And I had to scratch myself because I look where I am at today and I'm to realize that's what I'm doing. Everybody in here dreamed of what you're doing right now at one point, but it happens so quick we hardly acknowledge it, and we're going into this, okay, I hope this will work. It always works out for you when you apply yourself. And I make sure this is strong because when we do our role plays and stuff, you got to know that you're going to feel a little uncomfortable. That's good for you. That's change. That's what the whole point of this. So just remember, though, courage first. You're not going to be ready first. Now, some of the last few slides is going to be related to some of the reasons why we might... we need to be observers. We need to acknowledge some of these things that happen in our life that slow us down. So these inner critics, I call them gremlins. They creep up on you. You know, I'm not smart enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not deserving. Where did these come from? A lot of times when we were little, when we were small. I like to use this example. Say you're 5 years old doing math. 2 plus 2 is 7. Teacher's like, Randy? No, 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, let me try again. 2 plus 2 is 6. You'll never be good at math. This is not your thing. All of a sudden, Randy's 20, 21, 22. Here's a job as a finance man. Oh, I don't do numbers. I'm not a numbers person. What are we taking from the past and bringing forward? A parent might have not gave us the love we think we deserve. All of a sudden, we go around thinking we're not lovable. We got to ask ourselves this. Where did that idea come from? And why is it still around? Because we're carrying it around. It doesn't exist. It's an idea. We got to remove it. We're tainted sometimes when we're younger. We got programmed through the TVs, our parents, and all these different things. Whose job is it to unprogram you? Whose job is it to make you see the light, right? So it starts by asking, where did that come from? Assumptions, assuming history will repeat itself. This one is absolutely pretty brutal. Because when you're new, cash deal, bring it in, bring it in. All of a sudden, oh, we make assumptions. Cash deal. Take it in. Now, with that attitude, how are we going to produce any growth on a cash deal? Why are we treating finance customers who bring their money in and a cash customer brings their money in to feed our families differently? We sometimes forget the job is to maximize the opportunity in front of you. But it turned into some of this glorified situation where we're pick and choosing what we present or not. So again, it's all about acknowledging it. But assumptions, again, why does history have to repeat itself? So we have to ask this question, just because it happened before, why must it repeat itself? Right? Say you hand out 50 resumes, you don't get a job. Someone says, keep going. No, I don't want to do that, man. No one's hiring me. We make assumptions. We had issues in the past. Well, personally, I had an ex-partner in the past. I felt horrific from partnerships. I'm going forward. I'm seeing some cues and thinking, oh, it's the same. I have to say to myself, yo, no, you got to move forward. And you realize that we're making assumptions and we're living off these assumptions. So we got to remember, just because it happened before, why should it happen again? And it allows you to see another situation that. But if we just think it's going to repeat itself, it's going to repeat itself because we're going to allow it to. Okay, interpretations, a story that we create and believe it to be true. Salesperson says, hey, look, they don't want a penny more. Don't go over nothing with them. You're going to scare them. All of a sudden, they come in and you're buying that language. I mean, what do you mean scare the customer? No one wants to buy stuff, but you're not selling. If you share information, people will rip out of their money and buy what they didn't ever want to buy. And this is $500. And my friend who couldn't afford it, I was so passionate about it, I bought him one. So for someone who didn't want none, I'm buying 2 watches. Customers will do the same because they have to know what it does for them. And honestly, the products we have, does anyone here's house ever burn down? No? Cancel your house insurance. You're buying it because in case it burns down, right? So you wouldn't cancel it. So the same, they're not buying the product, they're buying what if it happens. And I'm going to show you how to articulate that when we get there. But interpretations, we have to ask, what's another way of looking at that scenario? And you'll notice that there's more than one. I like to do this. Anytime I have a scenario that doesn't serve me, I pretend it's a quarter and I say, flip it. What's another alternative? And you realize you could easily see another alternative. But we tend to be always choosing that negative side of things. Limiting beliefs. Anything we believe to be true that limits us is not real. There's external and there's internal. External is often financially related, but internal is the stories we're telling ourselves. I don't want to do that job. I don't think I can. Again, how has that been serving you? How has that been holding me back? Because I'm sure before we all took the role, we thought, I guess I can. It's imperative to fight. It's imperative to change. It's imperative to go through those things because then you really know what you're capable of and you'll see all the stories that we're telling ourselves. And like Coach Mike says, we don't have work problems. We have personal problems showing up at work. And this is a way to observe some of that. So we have about 2 more slides and we're going to take our first break. Awesome. Yeah, 2 more slides. Okay, the old paradigm versus the new paradigm. A lot of us is expecting customers' experience to be out the roof, no conflict, yet we're spending a little time discovering who they are. Hardly any rapport. Well, when you don't do much rapport, the needs awareness, you hardly know what they need. So you're just painting random pictures and telling random stories, showing them the random solutions. You line it with a step seller menu. None of them sell you more. It's how you use it. But if you use the menu, it allows you to have a better conversation with the customers and streamline that presentation. And most of the time spent on the close, telling Bobby why he should buy something he doesn't want. You might get a yes, you might get a no. You'll definitely have frustrations. Versus, do the work. Do the work. You get to know the customer, their needs are going to make sense, and it also follows their timeline. They got to like you, listen to, believe you, and buy from you, but their needs. You're going to know their needs because they spoke to you and you could see all these needs. You're able to piece things together. You share them the solutions. You align it with the menu. Your close is Mickey Mouse. Hey, once you choose one of these options, I'll get the rest of the documents ready and we're good to go. Customer says no, you go into a structured objection handling formula. There's none of this 8-hour session. Brain damage. So again, you do the stuff in life that's easy, life will be hard. You do some stuff in life that's hard, life will be easy. Choose your pain, choose your pill. But one, they're about the same time, but this allows you to streamline and move on when necessary. And we have 2 more slides actually. No, we're done. 2 more slides. Questions. Now we all know why we should ask questions. Establish rapport, qualify the customer, engage the customer, transition. Now, I'll talk about some of these stuff, but the main one I want to talk about is transitioning and creating awareness. Gap protection. When we learned the product knowledge, we didn't learn it all in one day per se. Customer comes in. Gap protection. Yeah, if your car's ever written off, you might owe a certain amount of money. What we do is we cover that difference so you don't owe any shortfall. And we're expecting them to understand that. Now, we might have variations of that, more depth maybe, but the customers need some real understanding. They need to invite themselves into that situation. So here's an example of that. Hey, if your car's ever written off, let's say you owe $40,000, insurance company doesn't care what you owe. They're going to give you what they think the car's worth. See, that could be $30,000. Now, that money doesn't go to you. That goes to the bank because they have collateral, which is the vehicle. Once the bank receives the check, they're going to notice that they're out $10K. They're going to want it right away because there's no collateral. How would you come up with that if that were to happen? See that question right there? Customer has to, I'm not sure. Well, that's what this program does. It cuts that in half. So, cuts that out so you're not worried about any debt or shortfall in the vehicle. Asking the question makes them think. On the credit application, you're going to hear me share. There's a question on my credit application, which you all get a copy of, that says, hey, if you were to pass away, who'd take obligation of the car loan? Oh, I guess it would be my partner. What's your partner's name? They need to know that it's real stuff. But they can't sometimes because we're talking too fast. Now, transitioning. We have so many products that if we say this is warranty, and next we have this, and next we have this, the customer is just sitting there. And next we have this, and next we have this. It's like overwhelming. But if you go over, before you go over warranty, hey, did Matt go over the warranty with you? No? Okay, let me. When you're going into the gap protection, instead of just saying next we have, hey, did you ever have a car written off before? Yes or no. If they say yes, tell me about it. They relive it to tell you. If they say no, either way, you're going to explain it. When you get into chemicals, I like to say, hey, what do you think about the color of the car? Oh, I love the color. It's so sweet. I know it's like a very popular color. Even paint has its own technology. You have the base coat, then you have the metallic coat, and then you have that clear coat that makes it shine. Everybody's going to love that car. The sun won't care, though. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So again, asking questions allows you to respect the customer because they have a wealth of knowledge. And if they share it, you could build off of it. And then you can move forward. Again, this is all going to be practical when we dive in. Okay, so ignorant and ask a few questions, and then we have the credit application. There we go. Listen twice as much as you could speak. Listening is the key to understanding. I'll invite you to visually do something for me to show how we're designed so perfectly for listening. If you take your ears and you gently rip them off your head, I know I'm a little descriptive, and you put them together, what do you get? A heart. A key to somebody's heart is a good listener. Now, if you spell the word heart, what's in the middle? Ear. Aww. Real. Was that a fluke? I don't know. So, but what are we doing though? Are we telling our story or are we listening to their story? Because telling our story ain't going to sell us nothing. Listening to their story allows us to actually solve some problems for them. So we got to use those two. Nobody steal that, please. We got two of them. And then last but not least, this is not a credit application. This is a discovery tool, but we sometimes abuse it. Those who are savvy, they just took the name, the basic stuff to get approval, not knowing that when you hold this, you're actually the banker to the customer. You could ask them all the hard questions and they'll give it to you. If you ask the customer how long you're keeping the car, in this, they'll say 7 years. But when you're selling warranty, they'll tell you 3 years. So here's a way to really capture that information and get that customer to know you're the banker. And some of the questions, if you were to pass away, who'd take obligation of the car loan? Is your mortgage secured? Life, accidental health, or critical illness? If you were to become sick, who'd take obligation of the car loan? So these just allow you to springboard onto good conversation with the customers. So just before we break, I just want to ask anybody, did anything really stick out to you? What could somebody share that kind of resonated with them in that section? Thank you very much. Okay, the next topic is going to be success selling insurance, creditors insurance, and I have another little spin on it because I feel like it's one of those conversations that we all are required to present to the customers. However, there's sometimes some feelings around it and discomfort that's often not addressed. So we're just presenting it kind of monotone or with no value to the customer. But anyways, we're going to talk about why people need insurances, the coverage available, and a process that's no friction, a process that doesn't take away from your sale. So first, I want to ask this question. Why don't we like selling insurance? Truth room, let's just share it. Somebody give me some reasons why it's not the hottest topic out there.
I think one of the challenges I see, I just see the cost of it compared to everything else. And in my mind, historically, people are less likely to take it. So it's that prejudging.
I hear you. Yeah, it is. And it ain't cheap.
Yeah.
I hear you. Anyone else?
Based on the same factor that you're expressing, is you're making the assumption, well, it's a lot of money.
And I have other products to sell. I hear you. Anyone else?
Maybe you don't really believe in yourself that much.
That's a big thing to everything, yeah.
Yeah. When you
I'd say it's sometimes a little uncomfortable. People think like they're already covered enough and
Mm-hmm.
want to argue with them.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to create confrontation, right? Yeah, it is. And sometimes it's knowledge. Well, we're all on the same page. We feel like it will cannibalize the sales. You got other things to sell. It's too expensive. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. It creates confrontation, lack of knowledge. This is stuff we're all familiar with. We all go through. Someone says, "Yeah, I don't want to sell this too expensive." Like I know they could get a cheap policy for life insurance way cheaper than this stuff. It's true, but the customers aren't going there. What's their next best bet? Right? If you want to buy, what's the best way? If you want to save money on groceries, you go to Costco. But if you need a bag of grapes, you ain't going to Costco, you're going to Safeway. You know you're paying more, but it's convenient and ready. So these are all legit reasons in terms of how you feel. But we have a duty of care. We sometimes forget this. Based on how we feel, we're deciding what this one or this one should get. Imagine you went to the bank. They don't mess around with this stuff. Everybody's going over. They're presenting disability in life to everybody. But we're professionals. We make good money, especially if you apply yourself, and we're making these decisions for somebody else's life. I call these customers who don't have this because we didn't present it silent sufferers. Because some of them are like, something happened, we'll never hear about it, but they could have had an alternative. I know someone who had breast cancer, survived it, everything paid off. Mortgage, house, car, all this kind of stuff. But imagine someone decided, it's too expensive. I'm not going to present it. So I hear the points and they're valid. But remember what we signed up for. We have a duty of care. It's not our program here. It's the customers. We're our protection. We're their protection, I should say. So I often understand this. I was in this. So I'm not going to say here, present it in a way that still makes you feel this way. I'm going to share you another way to present it where you actually don't have to worry about the price if that's going to be for the customer. So what do I mean by that? Before I do that, let's talk about why people need it. Cancer is the leading cause of death in Canada. 1 in 3 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. On average, 3,340 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer every week. 90% of Canadians have at least one risk factor to heart disease or stroke. Yep. And it's heavy. But guess what? If we don't realize this, we're not getting that message across. 70,000 heart attacks a year, 1 every 7 minutes, and 80% of people are surviving this stuff. So there's opportunities for everybody involved, but the customers need to make that decision. Don't roll the dice on their life. That's what we're doing when we don't present stuff. We're rolling the dice on somebody else's life. Breast cancer, 1 in 8. Prostate, 1 in 7. Now, look at the survival rates. We all know somebody probably who had one of these things, and look at the survival rates. So what's the difference? You have an illness, your loans are paid off, you could focus on recovery. Versus you have an illness, and you still have those loans coming out, look, you're going to stress some more. A lot of the stress we receive, if you have a pain in your body, it's usually a thought that's stressful. So it doesn't help their situation, but they didn't even have the opportunity to sometimes decide on that. And the average age of critical illness is 42. Only 15% of people have coverage. So when we think the customers say they have enough coverage, well, you guys have coverage here at work? Do you know what it is? Specifically?
Not specifically, but I know it's not enough just because I was looking at it before.
And you're somewhat,
For my needs and for my family, for whatever it is.
because you're looking at it, yes. But for the most part, we don't know what we got. So when a customer says, but you know you have something. So the customer is easy to say, I got coverage, but they don't know what they got. So we're going to help you define it for the customers later as we go through. But at the most point, 15% of people have critical illness coverage. I don't have it. So maybe some of us in here don't have that because that's a specific one. Now, 46% of Canadians only $200 in their account after bills. Now, it's hard for us to see this because we have a great job. Look, I call this the best job on the planet. Literally, you're CEOs, and we don't even know it. You have your own office. You have your own executive team. You have your own new cars, used cars, body shop. Really? You have a used car manager? This is all yours. All you have to do is up-level your skills. Customers are coming to you. No market expense. You could leave. What do you do with the garden that's entrusted in you, though? There's weeds growing. This products we're not familiar. So that's where your leverage is. So $200 after their bills are paid, this is 2020.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask when that date was.
After pandemic, look, you got to take out a mortgage for grapes. Pretty much. You got to take out a mortgage for grapes. So a lot of people are defaulting on a mortgage. It's going to come later. So if anyone didn't need it look, they need it now. So that's one thing to first know. We want to establish that there's a need. Now, the statistics are there, but the financial consequences we don't really see. So we got to understand that because sickness does not discriminate. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, it's going to hit you if it does. So there's coverages available that we're pretty familiar with, and I'm going to go around and ask you what they are so we could kind of talk about it. So credit life coverage. Maybe in a nutshell, what is credit life coverage? Right over here, David.
In the event that a customer were to pass, they would pay off the loan.
Yep, leaving them with an asset instead of liability. Easy breezy. Sickness and injury.
Just glorified disability insurance. So
Yep.
if you get sick or hurt, they pay for your payments while you're off.
Allowing you to focus on your recovery. See, easy stuff. Critical illness.
You have one of a certain set of critical illnesses. You acquire them. You survive for 30 days, and you can have your loan taken care of.
Yep, and 85% of people are surviving it. And loss of employment.
Well, if you lose your job, you will have your payment done for a certain amount of months.
They got to know about this stuff because it's good stuff, right? People aren't buying the item. They're not buying the price per se. They're buying what it does for them. Because I've been buying house insurance all my life and nothing's been burning down. So it's not the money per se, it's the security behind it. So, and then you have something called EVRC. It's EVRC, right? With First Canadian. It's like worry-free. It encompasses them all in one. It's like gap insurance. So for instance, husband and wife have the vehicle, say the husband passes, brings in the truck, hey, your truck's worth $30,000, but the loan's $50,000, so dealership gives you $30,000, this covers that difference. So it's like getting no debt, no vehicle. So just want to make sure we know a little bit about a product because you have to articulate it to the customer. Now, the depths of the product, it's up to you to look at your certificates and know how this stuff works. Look, it's probably good for you to know 100% of it, but the customer's only going to need to know 10, 15%, but you don't know which 15%. So knowledge is going to allow you to have more confidence in that approach. Now, here's what I want to talk about is the process. Now, if you open your pages, you'll see within your workbook that you'll see processes in there. But if you go right before the credit application, there's a few sheets like this. This one's bigger in here, like the process map. I'll actually open it up and let everyone see. It's going to look like this. That's the insurance selling process map. Okay. Now, I want to talk about this process and really try to articulate what the little differences are that make it different from what we're currently doing and more effective. First and foremost, your credit application is your key to success. It allows you. Who uses a paper credit application? Who uses a computer one? Okay, so one thing about the computer versus paper. Computer. You're typing, it's not as engaging with the customers. Now, it takes a certain level of skill set to still use a computer and be, I'm not saying you can't be engaged, but with a customer, it's like, what's behind the screen? What are they typing? Credit app, you're sitting there. They see the lines. Oh, okay, if you were to pass, who would take obligation of car loan? They see you're filling out a real form. But also, you could break character and have conversations in certain areas. Paper credit application just somewhat makes it somewhat real for the customer. It's not as administrative. So first and foremost, the credit application. Now, you'll have a credit application in your book. If you probably 2 more pages, you see the credit application. Key questions you're going to ask pertaining to the life and the disability insurance in order to temperature check your customer and what they know. For instance, is your mortgage secured? Now, when you ask the customer that question, a lot of them don't know what that means. Is your mortgage secured? What do you mean? Finish it off for them. Is your mortgage secured with life, critical illness, or accident and health? Yeah, I have life coverage. Follow-up question, was that requested by you or required by the bank? Oh, that's something that I decided to do. It's a house. You get to know where they're at. Oh, the bank made me do it. The rates, they said if I did this rate, I have to do it. So at least you get to know where they're at, okay? If you were to pass away, who'd take obligation of the car loan? My partner. What's your partner's name? Jackie? Shh, Jackie. Because later you're going to refer to this stuff. It's important that they know that there's some serious consequences of this. I mean, they got to know. Employee benefits, this is a big one. Do you have short or long-term disability at work? A lot of people are going to say yes. You better define it right there. Because if they just say yes, later you're presenting this, they're going to say, I have enough, I have enough. So when someone says, do you have short and long-term disability at work? Customer says yes. You know the best coverages out there, the maximum you could get unless you're fire, paramedic, or ambulance is 67%. Most people are around 50%. Do you know if yours is more 67 or 50? I don't know. You're not even caring what they say, but it establishes that you have 67%. So what does that mean? It makes room for your life insurance. It makes room, for your sickness and injury. Why? Because they get 67% of their income. They're not going to live off that. If they have this, their car loan's gone. It's almost like having 100% of your income replaced. But if you don't establish that, they're going to think they have enough coverage. So it's up to us to educate our customers so they know what they have or what they don't have. So anyways, 2 more questions on this. If you were to become sick or injured, who take obligation of the car loan? Again, the customers just so they understand what the complications are and the consequences to this stuff. Have you had an asset repossessed? Have you ever declared bankruptcy? And have you ever been sick in the last few years? And personal life insurance policy, do you have one of those? And if they say yes, that's good. Because honestly, if someone has 2 million, their customers are sick of this. If they have 2 million life insurance policy, and you're going over and you're presenting them, hey, that policy is just to get rid of all the, replace your income. This 30,000 policy for your car will get rid of the car loan. They'll be like, you must be out of your mind. That's why I have the 2 million. So we're presenting sometimes customer stuff that they already have. In this process, we're going to acknowledge what they had and share them what they don't have. So it's all going to make sense as we dive in. So first of all, you fill out your credit application accordingly. And after that credit application is done, just remember you're the banker here. You're the banker here. Some of the time we have imposter syndrome. We're holding this credit app, we're asking questions, and we're nervous. Sorry I have to ask you this question, but no, you have to be confident. The customers, you are the banker. Now, this conversation of life and disability, we want it on the bank. We don't want to be seen as the salesperson. So how would that look? After you fill out the credit application, transition. Before I send this application into the bank, they're going to want to know a little bit of information about you. I'm going to go over these 4 areas, and then I'm going to ask you something after. You go over the 4 areas, and you say, most people have coverage in some of these areas, but not in others. Where don't you have coverage? Customer will tell you where they don't have coverage. Now, most people have coverage in some of these areas, but not in others. Where don't you have coverage? Customer will say, am I buying anything here? No, you're not buying anything at this stage. I'm collecting your information that I need to send to the bank. I want to let them know what coverages you already have in place. I want to get you the best approval, so I want to paint them the best picture. 100% of your customers are going to tell you where they don't have coverage. And guess what? That conversation is done for now. You submit the approval. The customers come the next day to pick up the car. You go through all your products, and after your products are sold, then you bring it up and say, oh, shoot, remember I asked you that area where you didn't have coverage? Well, the bank came back with 2 options for you. One is this, one is that. Which one do you prefer? That conversation is better had at the end, and that conversation is going to be about things they don't have. They don't have. They don't have. It makes more sense for the customers. You do this right, your life and disability goes up. Because your preconceived notions about it's too much and the way you present yourself doesn't get out of the way. You did it all already. So there's nothing for it to eat up. So that's another way to present. And it also acknowledges where they don't have coverage. You're respecting the customer. Not if they have 2 million, you're trying to get another 30, they won't see value in it. So, but if you do it that way, they'll see value. So the idea is to credit app. Before I send it to the bank, they're going to want to know a little information. Present the benefits and the solutions that you have. And then most people have coverage in some areas but are vulnerable in others. Where you're most vulnerable, or most people have coverage in some areas but not in others. Where don't you have coverage? So I'm going to do this with Jada. We're going to go over there and we're going to role play everything I role play first because it's important for you to see how it is. And while I'm role playing, I'm just going to grab some sheets. While I'm role playing, I'm going to break it sometimes to kind of share you the importance of certain aspects. So let me just grab my credit apps. Credit application. Now, everyone will get a digital copy of this credit application. Your current credit applications on the back, do you have that life and disability stuff that I showed? You do? Some of you? Okay, good. Because it just makes it segue into the bank discussion. You're not trying to sell this stuff. You're really trying to let the customer see. Okay, I got my pen. Perfect. Okay. So customer just purchased the vehicle. So I'm going to set the stage with the customer. Generally, when you have this, you want to build rapport while you're filling it out. Okay? For the sake of role play, we're going to more streamline it and get the basic information. But also make sure you're writing the information as we role play, because there's a tendency when we're role playing to just assume stuff. Make it as real as possible, real play, right? And we don't want to be no fake characters that are going to make somebody laugh, right? Where do you work? I work at the zoo. I deal with the gorillas. We want to make it as real as possible, because the more you take from here, it makes it easier to apply. So Jada just purchased the vehicle, and I'm going to congratulate her, set the stage, and fill out this credit application. After I'm done, we're all going to dive into this. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Awesome. First new car?
Yeah.
Sweet, that's great. Well, what I do is pretty basic around here. I call it basic. I represent a few different areas. I represent the dealership. So you would have worked out some numbers with Ryan. I'm going to make sure all those are intact and everything's exactly what was promised is given. I represent the dealership, and your car has warranty on it and a lot of advanced electrical on it. So I'm going to clarify that so you know what's covered and what's not covered, because there's so much changes in vehicles. I definitely represent the bank. I got to collect this information, which I'm going to do right now, just to make sure I get an easy approval for you. So I'm going to ask you some questions that are personal in nature. And last but not least, I represent you. That's why I love my job, because people buy a car, they're often nervous, and sometimes they don't know what it's going to do. So I just want to let you know you can reach out for me for anything. You're in great hands. Words cast spells. You say that to customers, they know what to expect, and they'll be at ease. You don't say that, well, there's a lot of self-talk in their head. Okay, so a lot of your information is on your license. I'm just going to collect a lot of that there. Write it down, Jada. And SIN number.
123
123.
456
Mm-hmm.
789.
Excellent. Date of birth I have on there. Perfect. And the best phone number to reach you, that 333 number there. Okay. Excellent. Your address still 110 Brookstone Place. 110 Brookstone. A nice area.
It is.
Yeah. I like that area. R3Y0C3. And you're how long have you been living on Brookstone roughly?
5 years.
5 years, great. Mortgage, do you own, rent, or live with family? How's that? Own the home, great. And now your mortgage, do you have a mortgage on it?
Yeah.
Which bank?
RBC.
RBC. And the approximate, I guess, balance of the mortgage, how much is owing roughly?
350,000.
350. And the approximate value for to sell it in today's crazy market?
Probably like 500,000.
That's some good equity, great. Awesome. And your current monthly payment on that mortgage?
2,000 a month.
$2,000, perfect. Now, with your mortgage, do you know if you have any, like, is your mortgage secured? Do you have life, critical illness, or accident to health on it?
Yeah, I have life.
Okay, was that something that was requested by you or required for you to have by the bank?
Requested.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a bigger purchase, right? Smart on you. Again, see, temperature check. It's just going to allow you to know where they're at as you're going through. If you were to pass away, who would take obligation of the car loan?
I guess my husband.
Okay, husband, and your husband's name?
Chris.
Chris, okay. Chris. And your current employer?
ABC recruitment.
Okay. Excellent. And your position there?
I'm a recruiter.
In the name, for sure. And how long have you been doing that for, roughly?
10 years.
10 years. You must love it.
I do.
That's great. Annual income, approximately, gross?
75,000.
75K, perfect. And short or long-term disability, do you have coverage at work?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, do you know what kind of coverage you have? I know the best coverages out there, they maximum of 67% of your income they cover. Most is about 50%. What does your organization cover? Do you know? You get.
I'm not sure.
Okay, it's probably somewhere in the range, but yeah, perfect. And if you were to become sick or injured, who'd take obligation of the car loan?
My husband.
Husband, Chris, okay. Again, the question, so she's aware that if something happens, there's someone liable, and that's the important piece. Okay, and your primary bank?
RBC.
RBC for everything, eh? One-stop shop. Checking and savings account with RBC?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the approximate balance of your checking account?
$2,000.
And your savings?
$5,000.
Okay. Ooh, some of you are like, ooh, what is he asking this? Well, just remember, we're professionals. We have a duty of care for our customers. Some customers come in, they're well established, it's obvious. Some come in, we're not sure where they're at. Instead of judging them, by asking this question, it allows you to gauge what their resources are. And why is this important? Because young Tommy coming in buying a car, how much is in your checking? 500. How much is in your savings? 200. Later, young Tommy saying no to warranty. Your heart won't allow him to, your heart will make him want to understand. Look, Tommy, if something happens, Tommy, where are you going to get the money? I just want to make sure you're aware that this will be wiped right out. So you could have more intelligent conversation with the customer, but you could protect them. Now, if it's someone established, you don't have to ask it. But just remember, customers will give you the information. So someone say, how much is your checking? How much is your saving? The customer says, you don't need to know that information. I don't want to give you that. Yes, I'd say something like, hey, you know, at the end of the day, you're buying a vehicle, the bank wants to know all they can. They're borrowing you the money. However, I think if we leave these blank, I don't think that's going to make a difference. So why don't we just leave it blank? Easy. But sometimes knowing allows you to know a lot of information. Like, for instance, say they have $10,000 and $20,000. The bank's asking for $5,000 down. You could be more assumptive. Oh, the bank's asking for $5,000 down. I noticed you had quite a few dollars in your account. I said it should be okay to use that money, but I thought I'd run it by you first. So you could be more assumptive. But do you have to ask it? No. But you're not going to abuse it. It just allows you to have more emotions invested in it if they were to say no. So it just allows you to do that for some of those customers instead of prejudging them. It allows you to kind of gauge where they're at if that's a concern for you. So just something to note. Okay, have you ever had an asset repossessed? No. Have you ever declared a bankruptcy in the last 7 years?
No.
Okay. And over the last 7 years, have you ever been sick or injured and had to take time off work?
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, yeah. And life insurance policy, do you have one of those?
I do.
Okay, great. Okay, just a signature at the bottom there, please, of the credit application. Again, I'm still the banker. Before I send this to the bank, they're going to want to know a little bit of information about the coverages you have in place. It just allows me to kind of present a clearer picture to them, especially during the last years. A lot of people were defaulting on a few loans, so they just want to get a full picture. Credit life insurance. If you were to die, your loan will be paid off in full, leaving Chris with an asset instead of a liability. Sickness and injury, knock on wood, you haven't been sick and had to take off work, but if you're ever sick or injured and you can't go to work, we'll make the car payments until you get back to work, allowing you to really focus on your recovery. No one wants to be sick and having a car loan come out. Critical illness, if you get diagnosed with one of these 6 major critical illnesses, and I read it out to the customers because they're probably going to be familiar with somebody: heart attack, malignant cancer, organ transplant, stroke, paralysis, or bypass surgery. If you get diagnosed with any one of those 6 and you survive over 30 days, your loan will be paid out absolutely in full. And honestly, with today's technology, 85% of people are surviving this stuff. You might know somebody. Last but not least is loss of employment. If you lose your job involuntarily, we'll make your car payments in 6 months increments, allowing you to focus on a new job, finding a new job. The reason why it's 6 months is it's not designed for you to live off this stuff. It's supposed to give some immediate relief. But if you don't find a job within 6 months, well, what's going to happen is your payments are going to start coming out. But once you find a job again, and if you lose it again, then we'll cover that for you. Keywords. You're acknowledging that they already have coverage. You're not going to say, which one do you want? They're going to say, I have enough. Most people have coverage in some of these areas, but not in others. Where don't you have coverage?
Am I buying anything right now?
Oh, you're not buying anything at this stage. What I'm doing is just painting the best picture I can to get your approval. And I find it's easier if I let them know what coverages you already have in place and how you're already protected. So that being said, is there any specific areas that you feel you don't have coverage in, or you don't?
Probably critical illness and loss of employment.
Okay. And if the customer says, I have coverage in every areas, I'd go over them one by one. Okay, the life coverage, okay, you did say you have some life coverage. Sickness and injury, your work's only 50 to 67%, but I mean, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing, so you definitely have a little there. You didn't mention critical illness. Do you have any critical illness? No? Okay, that's definitely something you don't have. And loss of employment. If you lose your job, do you have an income replacement? No? Okay. See how you clarify it with them nicely. But you're gonna find you're not gonna get kickback from the customers. Some of them might be savvy and say, am I buying anything? They're not buying anything at this point. So you're gonna say, no, right now I'm just taking this to paint the best picture. Right? Get the customer to sign. That conversation is done for now. So that's what we're gonna do today. Okay? We're gonna focus on that credit application and presenting that disability, life coverage, and in your process maps, you're gonna have some of the word tracks to lead you if you feel stuck. So does that make sense? Okay, so I'm gonna grab some credit applications, pass them around, and we're gonna dance the boogie. Pardon? So we're gonna go in groups of 2. So I think we have enough. Yeah, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. Yeah.
Waiting all day for mine.
You've been waiting all day.
For your car.
You've been waiting on card. Oh, these customers, eh? These customers. Okay, so find some space. Maybe 2 want to move down here. But this is what we're going to do for the next little roll. So, and I'll be walking around to kind of make sure we're all on pace here. Thanks, Jada. So how do you transition to the products? We're going to talk about that. Creating awareness for the customers and presenting warranty. Now, there's a lot of products we have to present to the customers. For the sake of this role play, we're going to transition into the menu, explain the menu, and just present warranty for this first set. Again, you'll get additional videos that you're going to see how I articulate the other products. But for now, it's about getting into that discussion of the menu with the customer. Okay, menu versus step sell. I know some people do step sell, some do menu. Sometimes we don't have an idea what the distinguishing factor is because they could appear the same, but here's a traditional step sell. You present a product like warranty, get the customer's buy-in, you show them what the payment change is, no problem, that's done. You go to Gap now, you show the customer the information, you sell them on the awareness, you change the payment. The payment's changing in these increments as they agree with products. The only issue with this style is that after you present 2 products to the customers, sometimes the finance manager say, look, I don't want to go forever. I don't want to shake up what I already have. Making decisions. Or sometimes you're presenting 1 product at a time and the customer is so frustrated, like, okay, is there anything else you have to go over before I make a full decision? Like, could you show me it first? It's just this frustration. So it's almost like in boxing, jab, 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 jab. It's like they're beaten up. With the menu, you present all your products, then you ask. It's one time. So, but the cool thing about this one is it forces you to go through all your products first. The customer would have heard about them already. So how do you unhear it? You can't. So when you're asking to make a decision, they heard all the products and you could have more intelligent conversation that you could build off of. So pitfalls with step sell. Transition challenges. How do you go to the next product without making that decision of discomfort for the customers? Missed product opportunities. Someone who's doing step sell, tell me how you're going over all the products. That would be kind of hard to see on most customers because, again, there's always some kickback. Maintaining consistency. Again, you can't do it always, all the time because the kickback kind of pushes you away and you're trying to take what you have. And then time intensive. It takes a lot of time. Menu selling, it's very streamlined. You present all the information to the customer first. You're consulting them, creating awareness, letting them know why they need it, asking them questions. So they see all the hardships that could be done, but through conversation. It increases in transparency because it makes sure that you're focused on articulating some of the issues, but also they see all the products ahead of time. Higher product penetration when you have this. Because blending and bundling is going to be a friend. It's a beautiful thing. If we listed all the products we have, probably 16, 17, maybe 18, maybe 19. It's a lot of stuff. But when you blend and bundle it, the customer sees one nice package. Warranty and maintenance. It's all one package. Why is it beautiful for the customer? Well, because they have to do maintenance anyways. So when you bundle it together, they say, okay, I know I'm paying more, but it covers both. And if they say, no, it's too much, you could peel off one component of it. Some folks out here selling some good warranty penetration. Who has some decent warranty penetration? Okay. Now, what auxiliary items, key fob, or those little items do you find that is more of a struggle? Okay, life and disability, perfect. And what about some of the other products that we sell that you like key fob or dent coverage or
Scratch it out.
scratch and dent? Okay, guess what? Warranty's good. Blend and bundle it with scratch and dent. Guess what's gonna go up? Exactly. Because the customers see a package, your warranty. With your warranty, we also cover scratch and dent. Guess what? For the extra money for scratch and dent, it makes more sense. So it allows you to get some of those auxiliary products sold. So when you attach some of those big whales you sell with those little products, you find that the customers, they see more value because my warranty now covers this. And if they were to say no, you could peel it off. So it just makes it easier. Tire and rim, key coverage, those are also your warranty and key coverage. Your warranty and tire rim coverage, you see how those go up. So blending and bundling, a menu allows you to blend and bundle to get that effect. So your environmental items, for instance, on here has a rust undercoat paint, dent, key fab, and key loss, and rip, tear, and burn. It's a package, external package. So these are easier to navigate with the customers. They say no, you can move them out. But the idea is to blend and bundle. So you see all those products on a few lines. It makes it easier. Now, when you add life and disability in here, truth room is probably the first thing getting kicked out. That's why we're trying to talk about it being a bank situation, because people relate to their situation with the bank and that insurance is, and keep your products in here. Okay, now blending and bundling, the benefits, we spoke about them are all higher products per deal, more gross in your pocket, less discounting. Instead, if they don't want some, you could peel it back and it appears like a discount. More value to the customers and the dealership. Because you just sell warranty, that's great, but the customer has one reason to come back. If you sell more product, then the customers have more reasons to come back and see the service that the group supplies. Because when I read the discoveries, I could tell from the hiring process here, there's good folks in this room. So how do you know about that as a customer? You don't know that as a customer, so it's up to you to develop value to give them opportunities to come back to the dealership and show what your service is about. So retention. And leverage your strength. Those who are good at selling one thing, you add that other piece to it, and all of a sudden you're selling them. It's magic. But when they're isolated components, well, it's easier for the customer to say no to that isolated piece. Okay, how does the process look? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's not going to be a complete change what you're already doing. I'm sure you're doing something similar to this. The vehicle's sold. You congratulate the customer. You set the stage. Use the insurance credit application, collect their needs. We talk about the insurance. And if they're picking up the same day, you want to sit them in the lounge or get the product sales associate to go over the car with them while you're getting an approval. You don't want a customer sitting in your office while you're getting an approval. It's just not a good look. It's discomfort. Okay. Now, the cool thing about and if they're picking up the next day, they're on their way. The cool thing is when they come back, they're coming back to a familiar face now. You didn't try to sell them, threats down. Look, the customers are gonna know you're human. You're a human being. That's why I stay away from the computer and I engage with them because they can see I have kids, I have all these things. We could talk about it. So now how do we get the customer who comes back into that menu discussion and still stay authentic? Word tracks, they mean a lot. They cast spells. So just remember what it looks like when a customer comes back. I just met you. I came back the next day and I'm sitting at the desk. I don't really know what's going to happen next per se. I'm a little nervous as a customer and you're going to go over a bunch of stuff. You know what you're doing and you're going to talk like you know what you're doing. But as a customer, they're like, okay, how long is it going to take? Are they going to take me for a advantage? All this stuff's going through the customer's head. Here's how I could relate to it. A new employee starts. Hey, new employee, could you work on this? That employee works on that. They're finished. All of a sudden, everyone's walking around smiling at them. They're like, oh, I don't know what I should be doing. They're super nervous. But we're walking around assuming they have it. We gotta not do that for the customers. They're silent suffering. Imagine going down a dark hallway, feeling your way around, you can't see. This is what some of our customers are doing. But what happens when you set the stage? It's like turning on the lights for them. Turning on the lights for them. So how do we do that? Okay, customer comes back to see you. Set the stage. Transition using authority reference, educate them about the warranty, no sale, then you're jumping into the solutions. How does that look? Set the stage. When a customer comes in, turn on the lights for them. Hey, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, welcome back. Did you see your car in the showroom? Yeah, great. Just so you know, this is only going to take about 35 minutes. You know how much that does for the customer? When we don't explain time and we just go about our business, they don't know. You say that, they're at ease. Okay? It only can take about 35 minutes. Before we start, I want to ask you, what did you like about the cars? What features stood out for you? They're going to be smiling. They're going to be sharing here. I like the electrical. I like this. They're going to list all this stuff. Guess what? The stuff that they list, you're going to be able to tie it down later. They're going to tell you paint, technology, all this stuff. You ask them that. How do you say that with a grin on your face? Worry. You can't. So the customer is giving that time to express. You're breaking the ice. And then authority reference is what's going to be your key component. Why do I say that? I get so many text messages saying that, oh my gosh, I see my customer's body language change. So what does this mean? Some people had bad experiences in the F&I, good experiences. They don't know what. They were told certain things. They're coming in with all this. We need to decode it. I'd say something like, here it's the Nova Scotia Dealer Association. So after I set the stage with the customer, here, are you familiar with NDSA? Customer's like, not necessarily. That's the Nova Scotia Dealer Association. They're the governing body in Nova Scotia to make sure all dealerships operate under full transparency. Here at Bruce Auto Group, we're a full transparent dealership, so just sit back, relax. I'm going to make sure to go everything with you. Wait till you see your customers. They need this. They need it. And you'll feel it in their body. They just don't want to take advantage of. But if you don't tell them that, you don't know their last experiences. So it doesn't matter how cool you are, you're F&I. But when you say that, they know, okay, there's some rules and principles around here. I could relax. I'm in good hands. So when I set the stage with them, that would sound like that. The NSDA, Nova Scotia Dealer Association, they make sure we're operating in full transparency. Here at our group, we're a full transparent dealership. So you have nothing to worry. I'm going to go over everything with you. One of those things that a lot of people are a little concerned about is the fact that, look, yesterday's cars aren't the same as today's cars. There's so much technology. People don't know what's exactly covered and what's not covered. Did Ryan go over the warranty with you? You know darn good they're going to say probably not really or whatever. That's your reason to get into the warranty. Did Ryan go over the warranty with you? Not in depth. Okay, so again, we're going to be transparent here. Pull out my warranty sheet. Your tools are good, because they allow them to see. You lose all their perceptions. Now, I'll talk about powertrain first, then advanced electrical. But the powertrain, I'm going to feed off the customer and let them know there's probably no issues unless they had one. And the comprehensive, I'm going to let them know how technical vehicles are without scaring them, without selling them. You're just educating them, knowing that when they hear what you share, they're going to have a feeling of discomfort. Then you're going to relieve them from the discomfort. But often enough, when we're talking about what it has, we're talking about how they could top up in one conversation. It's just not the same. They feel it's a sale. So how would that sound? People don't know what's covered and what's not covered. So here, this is the powertrain. That's your engine and transmission. I mean, it's the stuff, it's about 1,500 parts. It's not a lot. It's the stuff that touches oil, basically. If you want to maintain that, just do your oil changes. You shouldn't have an issue. Now, your previous vehicle, did you ever have an issue with your engine transmission? And the customer says, no, I haven't. You probably won't start now. They're pretty much almost bulletproof. Things do happen though. That's why we have coverage. But in the first 5 years you have an issue, just give the keys. We do the work. We'll give you back the keys. Before I go to the comprehensive, I'll ask the same question because you could get another answer. So the powertrain is comprehensive. The powertrain covers about 1,500 parts, only stuff that touches oil. Did you ever have an issue with your powertrain in the past? Yeah, I did have an engine and transmission issue. That's why we have the coverage here. And that's why people like it, is for 5 years. So you see how you feed off the customer first? They might have an experience. But the idea is, ain't no thing but a chicken win the powertrain. We're not trying to scare you or nothing. Powertrain is pretty solid. Now, when it comes to the advanced electrical, that's a little different. It's sort of like a laptop on wheels. Like, you know when you use your cell phone, eventually it doesn't work. Do you fix it or you get a new one? You get a new one. So the car has about like 30 cell phones in it. They operate as modules. If something's wrong, all we do is the technician, we don't even have mechanics, we have technicians. They plug it in, it tells them what's wrong, they replace it. So I just want to let you know in your first 3 years, if any of that were to happen, just give us the keys. We'll do the work, we'll give you back the keys. There's no money exchange. However, we have to make sure we're fully transparent because people are getting surprised at the end. Because in the first 3 years, they're so used to giving us the keys and us giving it back. In the fourth year, when we give you back the keys, you're responsible for the bill. So it's up to us to let you know it's going to be probably around $2,000. The reason why I just say that is, again, it's like cell phones. You have any questions around that? So the customer's leaving knowing, okay, tech is tech. You got the mitigation system, all this stuff, that's the average fare. So there's gonna have discomfort whether they present it or not. And that's when it gives you, now you jump into the menu. So how that's gonna sound is, I know what you're probably thinking. Cost of ownership is high. Well, everything's high. Like if you go to the grocery store, I remember just having a bag of stuff is like 75 bucks. Well, here at our auto group, we realized that, and we actually created some programs that help you reduce your overall cost of ownership. Let me explain what I mean. Remember I was talking about the give the keys back? Well, this program, for 7 years, you have an issue, just give the keys. We give it back. You don't have to worry about any bill. Always stack your benefits. It also has roadside assistance. You mentioned you'll be traveling over to Manitoba. You do that frequently. If you're stuck between here and that nasty weather in Manitoba, you don't have to worry about changing the tire. You also have trip interruption benefits. So if you're, I guess you said you do it for business, you go to BC, if you're ever stuck, they're fixing a car, it takes a certain amount of hours, they'll rent you a vehicle. And you also have maintenance covered, which is, well, today's price for maintenance ain't tomorrow's price. And people don't like that incremental change. So those who don't, they just lock it in now. So right now, if you have the maintenance, you're not worried what it grows to. You have to do it anyways, so you're covered for those maintenance payments. And then when it comes to write-off, just say, did you have a vehicle written off before? And we're not gonna get into the write-off protection yet, okay? So the idea is, again, to transition into the menu smoothly. Now, if you look at your process maps, after here, you'll see the process maps right more distinguished here. So you see the first session and second session. That's what we're gonna do. And then they're clearly defined over here. So I'm gonna role play with Jada so you can kind of see how it feels. And a lot of this, just remember when you're role playing, it might not feel as smooth as you want, but I'll tell you, here's the best way to picture it. You know when you see a duck on water, all you see is this. But you know what's happening under? Exactly. So when you're role playing, people don't see that you're discomfort. Fight through it. They don't see. Fight through it. You're like a duck. We don't see what you see. So don't break character and say, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I'm not good. Look, no one sees it. Fight through it because it's a training ground. So when you get back, you're talking to a customer, you fight through it. You know, sometimes you're talking to that one customer who you don't know if they're listening and you're like talking and they're like staring at you. You fight through it. Same idea. And they end up buying because they just have a different way of listening. So just know when you're doing it here, you're going to feel discomfort. That just means change. But know that nobody could see that, and nor is your customer. The goal is to get your role play to 5 or a 6 or a 7 out of 10 here. With a customer, that would be a 10 out of 10. But the heck is it's going to be a 1 out of 10 here than a 10 out of 10 customer. So we're sweating here so we're not bleeding in battle. Okay? Okay. So finance menu. So the transition is going to be on your sheets. And on those sheets with the transitions, here's what it's going to do. It's going to show you when it's set the stage, the key components. Ask them what feature they like. Tag on to what they say. When it comes to transitions, use authority reference. Here you see VSA, Vehicle Sales Authority. You just put that in with NDSA. Okay? You're basically introducing the importance of customers' transparency and how you're a transparent dealership, and wait till you see those customers relax. Educate, when you're educating them, the idea is to discuss the powertrain and the shortcomings on the advanced electrical. Discuss the challenges in advanced electrical, like the costs and all those things, and the fact that they're like cell phones. Why do I use cell phone? If you say the car's like a cell phone, guess what? They know what tech is. When I talk about undercoat, you'll see it in the videos. You know how your shoes, you know your shoe soles protect the underneath of your feet? Yeah, that's what undercoat does for the car. When you go in the sun, what do you put on your skin to protect from the, when you go on the beach, what do you put on your skin to protect from the sun? Sunscreen. Well, this is sunscreen for the car. So when they know about these regular things, they now could apply it to what they now know about the product. But instead, sometimes we're rambling around trying to articulate this stuff which the customers can't know, but you could say as simple as sunscreen. It's that simple. Okay, because they just need to understand. And then the last one, again, is your transition to the menu. So the idea is to remember when you're setting the stage, you're just educating here. You're going to have a tendency to want to talk about the solution there. Leave it lingering, and then you'll jump into it. So you'll see me do it right now. Okay. So we did the credit application. She came back the next day. Now, I always encourage sold in the rolls if you can, because the faster you get the car out is the better. The last thing you want to do is have a car sitting on the lot that's already approved and stuff. This is a big joke because customers could cancel, liability. We want to roll the car as soon as possible. So we're going to assume that Jada purchased a vehicle. She met with me before. She's back the next day, and we're going through this, the rest of the menu. So my menu is not going to be presented to her right away. I'm going to go through the processes. And while I do it, you're going to see me set the stage and all this stuff. Let me see if I can click it as I go through it. Okay. Welcome back. Oh, that seems to be forever. That was a few days ago. Awesome. So did you see your car in the showroom?
I did.
Oh, what did you think?
It looks so good.
I love the color. Great choice. Actually, if I were to ask you, what made you decide to buy that vehicle?
I really like the sleekness of how it looks, and there's so much like cool tech in it. I've never had Apple CarPlay before.
There's a lot of tech. Did you see like the mitigation system, the lane departure, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
a little bit. I don't know too much about that stuff, but
Matt will go over that with you for sure. It could be complicated. I just want to make sure you know this is only going to take us probably about 35 minutes. It's going to be very simple. Before we start, have you heard of Nova Scotia Dealer Association before? No. Okay, so Nova Scotia Dealer Association is the governing body in Nova Scotia. They make sure we operate under full transparency with our customers. It's very imperative and important, so you do have a protection over you. Here at our group, we're a transparent dealership, so you have nothing to worry. I just want you to sit back, relax, ask any questions as you need. I'm just going to make sure you know all the things that you need to know, because buying a car, there's been a lot of changes even since a year ago. One being technology. There's so much tech. Like a lot of times people don't know what's covered and what's not covered anymore. You mentioned the tech earlier. See, when I asked, what do you like about the car? Apple CarPlay. You mentioned the tech earlier, that Apple CarPlay, the mitigation system. All those systems, there's so much that it's hard to kind of decipher what's there and what's not there. So did Matt go over the warranty in detail with you at all?
not really. No.
Okay, that's why I'm here, to make sure that we cover that. So I'm going to pull this sheet out to kind of explain it. It's easier when you could be visual. This section here is more considered the powertrain. That's the engine, transmission. If you do your routine oil changes, you probably won't have many issues with that area. Did you have any issues in the past with engine and transmission?
No.
Honestly, you probably won't start now, but in our climate, it might come up. But rest assured, you have coverage for 5 years or 100,000 kilometers. What that means? If there's an issue, give us the keys. We'll do the work. We'll give you back the keys. There's no money exchange at that point. Now, transparency is important, especially when it comes to the advanced technology. Remember I mentioned the powertrain, you do your oil changes, you're probably keeping that. There's no service plan for tech. When it goes, it goes. So we often refer it as a laptop or a cell phone on wheels, because when your cell phone breaks, like, do you fix it or get a new one?
Get a new one.
And that's the same with a lot of the tech. So we used to have mechanics, they're more technicians now. So what they'll do is if there's an issue, they plug it in, tells them what's wrong, and what they'll do is just replace the part. So that being said, it's probably imperative that you know what to expect after the first 3 years, because for the first 3 years, if there's an issue, just give us the keys, right? We do the work. Now, because your term is 7 years, and your term of your loan is 7 years, but your coverage is only 3 years, it's up to us to make sure you know what to expect after. So that 4th year, when you give us back the keys, you are responsible. The average repair is probably going to be around the 2,000 mark, just because of the nature of the tech. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. You have any questions?
No.
Okay, so I just educated, no sale, but I know what's on your mind. Now I'm gonna get into the other stuff. And I know what you're probably thinking. Average repair, 2,000. Well, everything's gone up. Mortgage, grapes, like, it's ridiculous. But I like the group because we want you to return, and we created some programs that actually help you reduce the overall cost of ownership. And I wanna go over those with you because they're very important. For instance, this first one, remember I was talking about if you have an issue, give us the keys, we do the work, we give you, well, for 7 years, you have an issue, just give us the keys. We do the work, we give you back the keys. There's no money exchange. You also get roadside assistance. Very important, because I guess you say you travel a lot. So if you're ever stuck outside, change the tire, everything, just call roadside. They'll gladly do it. That's part of the service that you get. And additionally, you actually get trip interruption benefits, which is probably going to benefit someone like you who's always traveling for work. Something happens to the car, it's stuck into the dealership. You don't have to wait in the dealership. They're going to provide a car for you to use in the meanwhile. And the last but not least, a lot of people love this. They're like, you guys cover maintenance? Yeah, we cover maintenance because every year labor changes, rates change. Look, your maintenance that you pay today is more every year. And people anticipate and they know that, but we created a way where, look, you pay today's price and you don't have to worry about the stuff you have to do anyways. Did you ever have a vehicle written off before?
No, I haven't.
And then you'll go into the next one, but we're not going to talk about the write-off yet. So you guys kind of see a smoother way. Like, does this make sense to you? Like, could you see how you could transition the customer in here with the good feelings they have, educate them, and start going into the menu? This is going to be, it seems pretty, what are we going to be doing here? But it ties a lot of things in together. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my phone so I have a timer handy. And your job is to circle numbers in sequence as high as you could get within the 30 seconds I give you. Now, sequence is number 1, number 2, number 3. So you just got to find them on the sheet and highlight them when I say go. And 30 seconds, we'll see how far you got. Yep, just highlight in sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, as high as you could get. But it has to start at 1, then 2.
So you can write like 1?
You circle it, cross it out, as long as you acknowledge it's there. So if you see number 1, cross it out. Number 2, cross it out. We're going to see how high you could get within 30 seconds by randomly looking at the sheet and finding everything. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I lost this test. I don't even know what's going on. So.
Everyone else is going.
Did you take one?
This is flashbacks to high school.
Stop. 29 seconds. What did y'all get? What? 0, okay.
13.
13.
You cheated.
Anyone else? Numbers?
18.
18. Ooh, that's big. It's big news.
Stuck on 13. I thought you hit 13.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. Turn the sheet around and fold it into 4 quadrants. So fold it halfway one way and half the other way. So you have 4 equal-sized boxes. And I'll share with you the method to the madness so you understand what's going on here. So as long as you have 4 equal-sized boxes there, you can just draw a line in the cross as well, just to make sure you have 4 equal size. And then open it up on that blank side that you didn't fill out. Now here's going to be the system, the process. Well, if you're looking at this from left to right, you're going to find your numbers. So I'm going to show you this. And once you get a chance, look up here. 1's going to be here. 2's here, 3, 4, and it just repeats. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you know what area your numbers are in. I'll give you that same seconds, and we're going to do that starting now.
This is stressful. Basically, if you want to do PCP. I can't even find these numbers. I think this is like a broken.
Stop. What did you get?
20. 20.
Woo! 21 seconds, not 30. The key is this. When you have a process, you know where you're going. You're going to have more efficiency, and you're going to get better at what you're doing. A lot of us is running a random process, and if you do that, you could hardly get better. So it goes to show when you have a process, it works. I'll give you an example. If a customer comes in and you have a random process, later you're wondering, why is my warranty down? You don't even know where to start. Is it because you talk about it here? It's hard to make any change. But if you have a process and a sequence, and you're always doing the same thing, guess what? If warranty is down, you could just tweak that section. You need a process. Imagine Amazon didn't have a process. Imagine a dealership didn't have a process. So sometimes we're not translating into the work we do. So not only on the second time were you faster with less time, imagine a third time or a fourth time or a fifth time, you get better and better. And that's how you master your art. But if it's random, it's hard to grow from random. So let that be an example of why process is important. Some of you with the sales associate, if you want to do a sales training, that's also a nice thing to let them know. Hey, when you get your documents in order, look at the difference. And it's a way to kind of influence them in a positive way by showing them examples. Because anybody you educate, they know what the answer is. So you show a salesperson that, they'll know what it means. But if you just talk about it, it's not going to be the same. Imagine I came here and talk about information. It's not the same. So just keep that in mind. Now, objection handling. This one is key because often we don't know what to say when the customer says no. It's a hard discussion, friction. Sometimes we don't have the tools. So we're going to talk about a little bit of menu, step selling, blending and bundling, objection handling process. But there is a process to handle these objections, and we're going to go into it. And one that actually works and you can apply it. Nothing I talk about here is going to be theoretical, you can't apply it. That's why I do the role play, and you can actually see that you can actually do this stuff. It's not like this mysterious stuff. So when the customer says no, what do? First of all, treat it as a request for more information. Don't get upset. A matter of fact, expect the no. Expect it. It's going to come. Why do we get them? 2 reasons, reflex or sincere. How many times you go into a store? Hey, can I help you? No, I'm good. As soon as they turn around, actually, do you know where this is? It's a reflex. When a customer says, I got to think about it, it's a reflex, but some of us take that as gold. When a customer says, I got to think about it, you can't work with that. You want to break it down into a sincere objection. It's either budget, deal, or decision. How that would sound is, when a customer says, I got to think about it, when you say you got to think about it, is it something I said? Is it the products, or you don't want your payment to change? I don't want my payment to change. You actually want them to say that in this process. But let's talk about I got to think about it. You think when someone says, I got to think about it, do they go home and say, hey, kids, sweetie, give me a second here. I'm thinking about this. They're not thinking of nothing. They're not thinking, they just want to be out there quick. You can't deal with I got to think about it, but you could deal with these ones. So again, I got to think about it. When you say I got to think about it, is it something I said? Is it dealership or is it just value? Now, budget, deal, or decision. Budget, actually money they have available. That could be a bottleneck. Deal, they like it, but they didn't get enough value because we said the warranty covers their repairs. But they didn't know that roadside assistance and trip interruption is included. I say this clearly because when you say customer, it covers your repairs and you don't include roadside assistance and trip interruption, you're expecting them in the heat of the moment to volunteer to know this stuff. But when you include those items and you stack your benefits, the customers see, oh, it has that, it just gives more benefits to the product. So always stack your benefits to the customers, or they will see something, but they just didn't get enough value, so they won't buy it. And the last one is decision or fear of lack of trust. What does this mean? This could be something that saves your life, this pen. But because of the way I share it with you, you might say, I'm not going to be sold. So I bought warranty before, but I never used it. That's what these sometimes customers face. So we could deal with these, but we can't deal with this. When you get a reflex, find a sincere objection, we could deal with those. Now, before we even get into that talk of objections, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Be ready for the no. It's like when you sell a car, you do all your work, you present the customers the numbers on the first go. They're not always saying yes. You got to work the deal. We sometimes forget. We're professionals. We got to work the deal. Expect the no. The no is a catalyst to more. The no is an opportunity actually to educate. When they say no, it allows you to find out what that no is and overcome that. So how do you prepare for objections? Great needs discovery. Active listening. Remember, we're 1 out of 8 billion. We need to listen to them. Lasting first impression. Look, act, sound, think like a pro. Someone with grease down their shirt, unfortunately, customers are going to judge you. Imagine I came in here, the same stuff to say, but all you see is grease here. You see some spills on here, ripped up pants. Look, you might not even hear what I'm trying to say. So sometimes we're getting in the way. And last but not least is confidence. Some of us don't have that product knowledge, but this has been going on for years. We need to tighten up. So what am I saying at the end of the day? If you don't do these things, forget about objection handling. It's interrogation. You earn the right for objection handling. If you don't get to know your person, if you haven't listened to what they said, look, don't even go there. It's interrogation. The opposite is when you do this stuff, you could say, look, if you don't take this, I'm going to shake you. Are you crazy? But they understand where it's coming from because there's a need. So don't do this. Don't talk objection handling. But you do this, you earn the right because they're going to respect what you have to say. So the sequence, you have an objection. You acknowledge the customer's concern first. You isolate it. You show them potential costs that they didn't consider, that they need to consider. And then you reclose. I'm going to show you how this looks. But this one is key. Imagine you went to work and you said, hey, how you doing, Susie? Susie says, oh, man, not so great. and you say, oh, that sucks. By the way, we're all going for lunch. Do you want to come with? Like, you didn't even acknowledge what Susie said. Let's revert that. How you doing, Susie? Oh, I'm not feeling so great. Well, it probably makes sense. You had a rough day yesterday. What's going on? Could you tell me more? Relate first, then move on. Acknowledge your customer. Sometimes the customers say no, and we're saying, oh, as soon as they say no, we're saying, okay, what about just this? Oh, gosh, we didn't even hear the customer out. It's a sale. So I'm going to show you how that's going to sound. But first, we want to consider this breakdown, and I'm going to share with you what happens when the customers say no. And then we're going to jump right into role play, because this one I built enough time so we could have a few runs. Customer says no. So if you look at your menus in your package, you'll see that there's a predetermined number. Here, this is the payment that the customer actually agreed to. The menu, after you present it, the first column is $825 versus $690. $783, $749. Guess what? The customers see that. They're gonna say no a lot of the time because it's big money compared to where they're at. Who goes up $100? Well, I'll show you who does. Educated folks do. So a customer says this, hey, I present the menu and they say, oh, that's too much. Or they say, no, I don't want to take it. Oh, is that something I said? Is it the products themselves? Or you just want your payment to change? I just want my payment to stay the same. Because it's easy for them. They will say that. Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, you just want that $690 to come out your account every month? You just want to say to them, yeah, I do. Oh, you're like me and everyone else. You have a budget. You're a planner. You're like me. If I go to Costco and I don't have a budget, I'm living with a whole cart. I totally know where you're coming from. Ease them up. Relate to them. They know you understand them. And I'll say something like, remember earlier we talked about being transparent? See how you planted the seed, you could go back to it? Anytime you go into a hard situation, you use transparency. They will just absorb it. You don't have to be transparent. Well, a lot of people are leaving with what they want is a fixed payment every month. But what happens is when you consider a lot of the incremental costs and you put them together, a lot of times it kind of blows people away that they paid much more than they should have. Can I show you some ways how to make sure to keep that payment intact and what things you might want to budget for and look out for? What do you think they're going to say? Sure. Okay. So your payment is $690. Okay, now I know you want that to go out every month. Well, it's actually a variable payment. Now your rate's fixed. But the variable is payment, the payment's variable because it's constantly changing theoretically. I'll show you what I mean by that. But I just want to let you know, in the industry, we call that exposed payment because it's always changing. Now, I use the word exposed. When I say in the industry, we call it exposed. It's not telling them directly, but it is an exposed payment. I just wanted to be clear to that. Why is it exposed? Because when buying a car, there's a few things you have to consider that often enough people aren't considering, and when you add them together, you realize how much you're going to pay. You're going to see why being transparent is important. Now, when you buy a car, you got to do your oil changes, right? Maintenance is required about 2 times out of the year. It's about $150 each time. When you put it together, that's $300 in a year. So what I like to do is cut that number by 12 because in a full year, I want you to see how it theoretically impacts your payment. Do the math, divide it by there, you see $25, I bring it forward. $690 plus 25, so your payment's actually $715 when you consider that. And I know it's not a lot of money, but I'm just showing you what to consider because transparency is letting you see the full picture. Now, what else do you have to consider? First and foremost, you will never have a payment of $715. What it's actually going to look like, you can still pay your $690, but those 2 times out of the year, you're paying the $690 plus the maintenance. So 2 times out of the year, you're going to have an $840 payment. Just making sure you're aware, okay? What else might you consider when buying a car? Well, we spoke about the technology earlier. You don't fix this stuff, you replace it. It's like a cell phone. Does it break? You got a new one, right? What does a minor repair look like? Because I always encourage people to budget for a minor repair at least because guess what? Repairs do not discriminate. Christmas, birthdays, they don't care. But when they come, you have to fork out that money right away. So how do you prepare for a minor repair? Let's just consider a half-a-day repair. Now, we had someone come in. Her seat module wasn't working. Her husband was like 6'4". She was 5-something. So they had to adjust it. So they came to the dealership. We diagnosed it, took it apart. They installed. That's about half a day's work. Okay. Now you all have, you know your labor rates here, but here's an example of one. In Manitoba, it's 185, but you just switch it out with your labor rate numbers. For the sake of sharing, I'm going to show you how this looks with just what I have on here. So you have to budget for minor repair. So how does a minor repair look like? So the seat modules took about half a day. So here's how it looks. First of all, our labor rates is posted in the back. It's $185 an hour. A lot of people are aware of that. However, they don't really look at the parts because the parts isn't posted. Well, rule of thumb is parts is approximately 2 times what labor is because we're not fixing this stuff, we're replacing it. Being a transparent dealer, we put the number together so you could see the full picture. That's about $555 an hour. So that minor repair that you're talking about, 5 times 555, that's about $2,700. Remember earlier I was talking about the average repair was about $2,000? The idea is not to scare you, but when we really break it down, I mean, as you can see, I just want to make sure there's clarity for you. What does this 275 mean? It means any given year, you have a repair of that number, and you want to see how it affected your payments for that full year, divide it by 12, 231, bingo. So your oil changes you have to do, and a minor repair, look at your exposure, minor repair. I say minor repair specifically because if it's a screen, it will blow this number out. Just remember this is real numbers. If somebody actually has a repair of $2,700, it did affect their payment for that for the year, but they don't know that. They think they're still paying this payment, but I fixed my car. Nope, you could have had less. You could have paid way less. So I show them that. What I'm doing on this side is making it so I could hedge it against their payments, but this is showing them the actual. So all they're seeing is a bunch of areas that they have to consider. So anyways, your payment's $246 if you just add that minor repair. Now, you'll never have a payment of $946. What's going to happen is the time you have the repair, you're paying that $690 that month, plus the repair, it's actually $3,400 that month. You're showing them real numbers, real situations. Are we telling them that this is going to come out when it's due? Are we showing them that theoretically it's this? And if you show them somebody that, do you think they can now make a well-informed decision? Now they can. So additional to that, I asked you earlier if your car was written off. How would you come up with that shortfall? You said you didn't know. So if that were to happen, I'm not going to do the math with that shortfall because it's really going to skew these numbers. So when you really look at it, what do you prefer? Do you prefer more of a variable payment, or do one of the fixed ones look better? You show the customer a minor repair and an oil change. Blows out their budget. Now you're gonna get the smart customers, and you know what they're gonna say? Which they're smart. Customers aren't stupid. They're actually smart, so they ask questions. Sometimes we can't answer the question. But I have warranty for 3 years. I don't have to worry. Well, the 4th year, if you have an issue, remember you're responsible. So if you get that repair in the 4th year, 2,775, and you divide it by 48 months, it's like going back and adding $57 to your payments. You can't escape this stuff. $57, that's after 4 years, 48 months. So now when you show them this stuff, doesn't this look a little better? It looked crazy, $690 to $825, $690. Well, the alternative is literally this could happen. Now, what if it's a $3,000 repair? We could understand what's going on, but the idea is not to scare the customer. Just show them the oil change they have to do, a minor repair. That's it. Here's where you could go with this when you get elite. If you heard a story from them saying, "Yeah, my tire blew out, 22 inches, I had to pay $450." When you do the math, remember your tire blew out? $450 divided by 12, that's how much your payments increased a year. Now, when you look at that number, you realize that tire coverage, everything's cheap when you look at that number. Nobody wants to run the risk. One risk factor, they're blowing out the budget. Never mind another repair and stuff. So again, something to consider. Now, remember earlier when I asked them, is it something I said, is it this, or you want your payment to stay? My payment to stay the same. So it's budget. But I use that budget answer to show them and ask for it all again. And the customer says no again. So the customer says no again. No, it's still too much. Well, why don't we do what you wanted originally? You said it was your budget. It was just your payment. So I'm going to draw a line here. Shh. This stuff up here protects against the budget. That's what keeps your payments the same. This is more the resale value and how the car looks. I mean, you could drive a car with rust. If we focus on just what's important to you, Well, the mechanical, you can't take the car unless you pay for it first and fix it. Maintenance, you have to do if you want to maintain your warranty. And if that shortfall, this is actually supposed to be gap protection. And if you have that shortfall, you have to give that money to insurance. Why don't we just stick at these? Boom, goes further down to 714 or whatever. If the customer were to say again, additional time, hey, look, you said you didn't write off a car before? Knock on wood. This stuff, I mean, like I said, they're not fixing, they're replacing it. So you see how changing perspective could allow not only us to see, but when you think how simple that is, our customers need to know that. They can't make a decision without it. But we're expecting to make a decision, and we're not giving them the tools to make a decision. So this alone will recoup sales for you, because you don't want it too early, because you're giving them an opportunity to say, hey, sure, I'll take it. But if they say no, they understand, because the way you communicate, no, right now, based on what you told me, give me some information, transparency, they'll invite that additional information, because they just want to make a well-informed decision, but we're not often educating them. So I'm going to role play that through, and then we're going to see how that looks, and we're going to dive right into it. This one is the cash menu. So for this one, the idea is to say no twice. So I'm going to present it to Jada. She's going to say no. Then I'm going to show that breakdown. And then she'll say no one more time. No, sorry, she said no. I'll show the breakdown. Then she said no one more time. And I'll show her just the budget piece. And that's all we're doing for today. Now, in your books, you'll see exactly the objection handling breakdown sheet in there, which shows the numbers. So when you're doing it with each other, use this to break it down. But write it on your back of your sheet. You'll see how I do it. For all the programs, the first one's called the gas and go. You put gas in the car and drive. That's all the things we spoke about earlier. Your payment's $825. Next one's necessity. It's similar to the gas and go, but a few areas are a little lessened, just for more budget conscious. So for instance, instead of 7 years covered, you have the 6 years. Instead of the full rust paint fabric undercoat, you have the exterior. That's where most of the value is for trade-in anyways. And then for the owner's comfort, there's a partial cover, which we cover just your windshield. Last one's called the essentials. Honestly, I wish it was called the must-haves, because you're buying a car in Nova Scotia. It gives you 5 years complete warranty, so you're not guessing what's covered and what's not covered. Everything's covered for that 5 years. The vehicle write-off protection, that's not in there. Assuming you're gonna self-insure yourself, so you get into an accident, that's something that you'll deal with the insurance company with. The environmental item is gonna be your choice of two. Maybe it's a rust undercoat. You decide what works for you. And the last, owner's comfort, we're not including any of that in there with this purchase, that program. So once you make a decision on one of these programs, I'll get the rest of the documents ready. While you're doing that, I'm just going to register some stuff for your vehicle.
I think I'm just gonna pass on all of this.
Okay, so she says pass. We're going to continue from that, but here's what you don't want to do. Once you make a decision on this, we're ready to go. Hungry? Who's hungry here? The customer like, why are you so excited to sell warranty? Give me some space. How did they make a decision? You want it ain't no thing but a chicken wing. That's what I like to say. You like chicken wings, right? Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. So so once you choose one of these programs, I'll get the rest of the documents ready. While you're doing that, I'm just going to register some stuff for your vehicle.
I think I'm just gonna pass on all this.
Okay, when you say pass, just so I can understand, is it something I said? Is it you didn't see value in the products, or you just wanted your payment to stay at that $690?
Yeah, I just want my payment to stay the same.
Okay, you came in with a plan. You just wanted $690 every month. Obviously, you're a budget type of person. I'm similar to that. You just want to keep your payments in line. We're no different. Actually, I like that idea. When I go to Costco, if I don't come in with a budget, I'm leaving with a big cart. So I totally understand that. If you don't mind, do you mind if I'm very transparent with you? Who's gonna say no, guys? Who's gonna say no? Mind if I'm very transparent with you? Well, a lot of people are leaving with what they call one is a fixed payment, but there's so many things that you have to consider when buying a car nowadays that when you don't consider them and you put them all together, you realize you paid much more. Do you mind if I show you what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Who's gonna say no, guys? Who's gonna say no, right? So look how you make it easy for the customer. But if you say, hey, you've got some options, why don't we do warranty? They're gonna say no. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw a line here at the back just to kind of articulate this. Being a full disclosure dealership, it's always important for someone to know this stuff because, again, You don't buy a car every day, and I'm here, and I just want to make sure to educate you on this stuff. So your payment right now is $690, and if I understand, you want $690 every month, right? Okay. A lot of people think that's a fixed payment because it's $690 right now, but it's really more of a variable payment because when you consider everything in buying a car, theoretically your payment goes up, which I'm going to show you shortly. But in the industry, we call it actually exposed payment because what happens is it's pretty much could go all over the place. And that's why I love our process here because it's all about making sure you understand what you're getting into. Now, what do I mean by that? Your payment is $690, okay? That's just for the vehicle. There's certain things to consider when buying a car that you just have to because you have to do it anyways. Like for instance, your oil change is required to do twice a year if you want to keep the powertrain warranty up because if something goes and you didn't do your oil change, they're not covering it. So your oil change is about $150 each time, and that's 2 times in that year. So that will equal $300, okay, for the full year. What I like to do is say, how does that impact somebody's payment so they could put apples to apples? Because at the end of the day, transparency, right? If I take that and divide it by 12, it equals a number of 25. Now, I'm just gonna go grab my calculator here. No matter how easy these numbers is, you use this so they can see you're using this. We're not gonna be fast car Freddy here. Okay, so 25 bucks, okay? So if you look at that, 690 plus 25, when you add the 25 and you consider your oil change, your payment's actually $715. Now, I know you're gonna say that's not much. It's not about much, it's just transparency, making sure you could see all the opportunities that are available for you. So $715, now, you'll never have a payment of $715. I'm just giving you an example so you can see how it affects your payment theoretically. But what's gonna happen is 2 months out of the year, you have your car payment due. And those oil changes will be due that month as well. So plus 150, plus 150. So 2 months out of the year, you're paying 840 bucks. And why am I sharing this? Again, you wanted your payment to stay the same. I'm showing you, it's gonna change a bit, but at least you understand why. What else might someone consider? There's not a whole lot of things to consider that we're gonna plan for, but you're buying a car with advanced electronics. We don't have mechanics, we have technicians. When something goes well, you know how much a cell phone is as well as I do. So when we consider that component, I always think it makes sense to budget for at least a minor repair. Whether you do or not, repairs don't discriminate. So it's either you're prepared or not. So I'm gonna show you how someone would typically prepare. The screen that you spoke about last time, the mitigation, the Apple CarPlay, we're not gonna talk about those. Those are like thousands of dollars. We're gonna talk about something minor. I had someone come in with a seat module issue. She was like 5'5", her husband I think was 6 something, but they had to adjust it for it to work, right? Came in, so our technician looked at the part, diagnosed it, took out the part, and so that was about half a day work. So I'd say that's probably fair for a minor repair, half a day. So how do you budget for half a day? First, you gotta know the labor rates. So labor, as you can see, I'm showing you it all here. Transparency is so important to us. Labor is, how much is labor in the group here? Labor rate, roughly. Okay, 135. So labor is 135 an hour. That's just labor. I know it seems a lot. Every year it kind of goes up a bit, but we're working on today's numbers. Now, parts. You got to pay for parts. Parts, a rule of thumb, is double what labor is. Remember earlier I said we don't fix the car, we replace the parts? See how earlier the seeds you planted? No threat. Earlier in the education stage, you said it. So we don't fix the vehicles, we replace the parts. We don't have mechanics, we have technicians. So parts is approximately double what labor is. So I'm gonna show you something here. If you take 135 times 2, you're looking at parts of about $270 an hour. Now, me being transparent, I add them together because you wanna see the whole picture. That's $405 per hour. Remember that half a day work, 5 hours? Times that by 5, you're looking at $2,000 repair on average. Remember earlier I mentioned that's where the numbers come from. When you root stuff in logic, no one's gonna be sitting there telling you some nonsense like, oh, that's not real. It's when we say 2,000, we don't have backup, then we're like, that doesn't make sense, but this makes too much sense. So you're 2025. Now, what does this mean? Any given year you have a repair that's about that much. Well, if you want to know how it affects your payments for that year, all you do is take that number, divide it by 12. That's $168. So right now you're paying $715 when you consider your oil change, plus that $168. you're at $883. And you can see the importance of why I show this, because who's going to be thinking of this until it's too late? Now, the reason why I like to show the theoretical part, because your payment's never going to be that. It's going to stay. You're going to only see $690 come out, but what the month you have to fix the car, you're paying that $690 plus that repair. So that's why people talk about this $3,000 bill. It's not necessarily just the repair when you have to pay your payment that month, right? You have to pay the payment before you take out the car. So that being said, your payment's $883. We're just considering those things now. I don't want to go too crazy here, but I asked you earlier if your car was written off, where would you come out that money? And you'd say you have to get it in savings. Well, that $10,000, if I did the math for it and divided it, it would blow out the payments. No one's budgeting for that. Hey, knock on wood, we don't want that to happen, but it's something that might be in your mind. But that being aside, with the way it's set up, what do you think happens if you have another minor repair? And it's one of those things. So do you prefer like more of a variable one that's changing, or does that, like, do you prefer, like, does the fixed ones look a little better for you under that circumstance?
They still seem a little bit high.
Okay, so I asked for it all. They said no with the logic. You could ask for it with a clean face and you didn't push them at all. You showed them. I said, no, yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, you did earlier say it's the payment, so it's more budget focused. Well, why don't we do this? I'll draw a line in the middle. The stuff up here is more budget protection, keeps your payment the same. The lower stuff here is more appearance/resale value. It's more how the car looks. You seem to be concerned more about the dollars. So if we did this, well, look at this. Your payment ends up being $714. Why don't we go ahead and register that?
That seems better.
Okay. Now, is it going to be this flowy with the customer? Not at first, because you're learning it. But once you learn it, I tell you, let them say no to you. Let them say no to you. Because it makes too much sense. But besides making sense, don't you think a decision maker needs to know this if they're going to make a well-informed decision? Like, really? Like, if you knew this, can't you make a better decision? But if you don't know it, you're rolling the dice. So we're going to dive into this piece, and we're all going to do the same. So on your objection handling sheet within here, when you're working with each other, you're going to use these numbers to break it down, but you want to write it down on the sheet and do math. So just look at this for a reference and get used to writing it down, because when you're with a customer, it's real, and we want to make it as real as possible. Now, again, finance customer comes in with some warranty already in the deal, 8.99% financing. They come to your office. You're ready to give them white glove service. They could come in with a cup of coffee from the dealership. You're like, put that away. Let me get you some Starbucks. You deserve Starbucks, right? Again, I over-exemplify this because I want you to know that we show up differently for different customers. But the cash customer comes in, it's like, get your own coffee. We don't do coffee here. You didn't bring that in? Again, exaggerated, but how are we treating folks that are feeding us? Why are we discriminating based on the fact that someone has their hard-earned cash and they're buying a car? They don't care what's in it for us. We should care what's in it for them. They pay our bills. So when we're dealing with cash deals, the first and foremost, stop the self-sabotaging behavior. Oh, cash deal. Our job is to maximize each opportunity. What's killing us ain't those cash deals. It's a deal that we only presented one item where we didn't present the rest because we thought we were good. That's where it is. So what does it mean? First and foremost, we got to be grateful for the opportunity, because that's what it is. And secondary, these salespeople hustled. They grinded. The last thing they need to hear is, hey, you didn't do turnover? You didn't do a cash conversion? So when it comes to cash conversion, there's a time and a place for it. And there's a time and a place where it doesn't work. But if the salespeople you're expecting them to do anything of the sort, you got to educate them. You can't just say why you're not doing it. You got to educate them. So, cash process. First of all, be ready. Mindset and everything. Know that you have to see it anyways. Why not maximize it? Okay? Build rapport. Those who build rapport, it's almost a currency worth more than cash. If you actually just focus on cash, if you just focus on rapport and making sure somebody understands problems, you don't got to worry about your check. But if you're worried about your check, guess what? You're going to do all types of things that are going to interfere with that. Just be friendly, just be open, let the customer see the light. So in terms of cash deal, you're going to navigate it similar to when we do the finance. And it might be a little adjustment, but when they buy the car and they sit with you, ask them why they bought the car. Let them know it's only going to take a certain amount of time. Let them know how transparent the dealership and educate them about the warranty. And then you're going to go into that menu. It's going to be looking a little different. But when do we convert? There's a time and a place. If someone has a line of credit, especially right now, bless you, they're probably at 11, 10% for the most part. So if someone's coming in, you want to find out their source of cash. Hey, is it a line of credit? Is it cash from your account? Or is it just from an investment? If they say line of credit, the first thing to ask them, oh, what rate do you get? It's a 10 point something. Oh, do you know our rates are better here? They'll convert. They'll convert. But when you just see it as cash, some people go to their bank because their bank makes it so easy. They don't care what the rate is. They just come with some cash, and they don't know there's an alternative. So we see it as cash. So if your attitude is self-sabotage, you don't even have that opportunity. Just remember, that's a real opportunity to convert because their rate's higher. You're getting them a lower rate. You need incentive for the customer. What if it's cash? They're paying cash. A lot of time when people pay cash, it's rooted in values. Look, I worked hard for this money. I get to pay a car cash. They're not thinking of the rates and the interest rates and stuff. So if you're going to introduce them to your finance rates, why would they do that unless you have a valid argument? And what's a valid argument that you could get across in 5 minutes with those kind of customers? They made a decision to buy the car cash. It's a form of payment. We forget that they buy value. So you're hardly going to convert those cash customers because it's more than just cash. It's convenience they're buying. It could save them dollars. They're not about saving dollars all the time. Now, investment, that's another opportunity. But again, you can't find this if you're in the gutter and you don't ask them what their source is. Some people will actually naturally convert. So in investment, say I have 50 grand and I have it growing at 4.99% in an investment. That same 50 grand is what my car costs, but the dealer's rate is 7.99. So it's easy for someone to think, look, my money's only growing at 4.99. Why don't I take it out and buy the car? Why would I pay 7.99 here when I'm only growing at 4.99? If it's from a line of credit, I'll show you what tools you have under your belt. Now, those who don't have this, you're going to get it anyways. You're going to get the credit application, you can get the menu, you get all this stuff. Those who are using FC Drive, it's a menu. So it's whether you use paper or not, it's going to be very similar. But I want to show you something on here because those who are paying cash from an investment, you have an opportunity. Now, first and foremost, buying a car cash is not an investment. Imagine taking 50 grand of your money, taking it to Wall Street, saying, where's the best stockbroker in the building? Okay, you are? Put this in something that's guaranteed going down. When you buy a car cash, all this driving around is $50K that you have no access to. You just ruined some of your reserve. You're driving around $50K that's depleting instead of letting your money work for you. However, if you talk to someone about investing at this time, it probably won't work. They would have invested the money already, right? So sometimes we're picking on the wrong battle. So I'm going to show you this investment calculator because once you find out the source of cash and it's from an investment, you can say something to the customer like, hey, we have this awesome tool that actually will see what your investment rate is and see what the car rate is and kind of see what's beneficial for you. Do you mind if I show you that? Sure. Okay. So I'll show you what that looks like so you can kind of get a concept of what that feels and looks like. You're going to get all this stuff on a key card. So let's pull this up. One thing I'll tell you, cash, there's no magic. We're in our head. We're getting in the way. How many people had a cash customer that they had success on? They buy. It's just the value isn't a $10 a month presentation. You got to show more meat. And some of those tools that I share you is more meat. And when you watch the videos and see how I articulate, because this is not a product knowledge course per se, but when you watch the videos, I talk about all the products and you see how I articulate value for the customer. So Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer. So our rate, our rate is 7.99. So let's plug it in here. Sorry, it was not on the screen. Oh, good Jesus. Good Lord. Okay, let me take that off here. Okay, I don't know why it's not. It should be. Let's see here. Okay, little tech issues. Nothing I can't solve. Okay, I think I know why. Oh, it's doing dual monitor. So let me do something. Extend Extend my monitor. Okay, duplicate. I'll fix it in no time. Keep changes. Okay. You can see this now, right? Perfect. Okay, so you say to the customer, our rate, yes, is 7.99. You're doing an 84-month term, with 84-month term, $50,000 down. Okay. Versus what's your investment rate, Mr. or Mrs. Customer? Now, a lot of them will brag if it's high, but let's use a low one, 4.99. 84 months. Now, look at this. If a customer takes our finance rate over the 84-month term and leave their money in investments, look how much they save. $5,411 is what they will save in that whole term.
By taking it over 84 months versus the cash.
Correct. Keeping their money in investment and just paying the payments for the car. Now, why does that make sense? Well, this 7.99 is a depreciating balance. 50 grand, 40 grand, 13 grand at 7.99, low money, appreciating upwards. Now, if you buy the car cash, 50 grand, how much is that car worth in 7 years? 50,000? Way less, right? Guess what? They still got their money. They still got $70,000 in their account. Will people convert? Yeah, if they know why. If it's a line of credit that's higher, they'll convert. If it's an investment, they'll convert. They'll see the numbers. If it's cash, look, we're selling value. How are you converting that, right? It's a hard discussion to have in a short time. So the method to the madness is to first understand that there's opportunities to convert, but you can't do that if you're not asking your customers. And that's the important piece. So first and foremost, be ready for the deal. Respect the deal brought to you. We're spoiled. We sit in an office, no marketing expense, and deals are coming in, and we're picking and choosing it could be nasty when you see it from the other end. So just remember that. Set them up for success. How many people have salespeople are scared to bring a cash deal? They just hustled for that and they're scared. Oh, I don't want to bring it to this person. I'll get screamed out. So just remember that. What are we doing for our people? Okay? Build your rapport, find a source of cash, and sell value. So how this will look in a menu standpoint is like I mentioned. I'm going to show you this menu and I'll show you why it's different. You got to own it. You got to own it. And another best practice is go back and role play with your salespeople. Guess what? They'll actually know what you do and they'll know you're not smoking mirrors. And then when they turn over, they're going to understand what's going on, because before I was a finance manager, I didn't know why they needed a turnover. They're just sitting in that office. And then when I became one, I'm like, oh gosh. But nobody told me. Sit with them, role play them. They'll start to respect you a little more as well. So thanks for the shares. We're going to talk about some of the best practices here, take a group photo, and then we'll do some feedback. Now, key takeaways. We have a duty of care, okay? We're not running a free-for-all. We have a duty of care for the customers. What do we do with the garden that's entrusted in us? Are we letting weeds grow and not snipping them? This is our opportunity right in our backyard. We have a duty of care. What does this mean? You may not be comfortable with certain products. It ain't about you. It's about your customer. Give them that opportunity. Now, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so who are we fooling when we don't present stuff, right? Mindset matters. We spoke about that today. It's how you get into a situation. You don't see the world how it is. You see it how we are. You have to adjust that in order if you're going to make change in your life. Perspective versus perception. The customers have their perception. You could give them another perspective, and all of a sudden, they change their perspective. I shared those ideas of those glasses. If you show somebody enough lenses, they now have a hybrid approach, and they could look at it and make a well-informed decision. Before some of these tools, you have to ask, how was your customer making a well-informed decision, or were they making the decision out of fear? When you provide the information, we could all make a well-informed decision. Follow the process. Don't skip steps. Skip a step, skip a deal. You only have a few opportunities that you're actually working in the office. Sometimes it's end of the month. We got a boatload of paperwork here. We see a customer come in, we're like, trying to rush the customer out so we can get the paperwork. Don't fool yourself. The only time you're working is when a customer's in front of you. You need all your juice at that time. Look, I don't encourage you to sleep at the dealership, monkey around. Not when the customer is there. That's the only time you're working. That's the only opportunity. So when you got a busy day and you get a cash deal and that's all you have, and you go speed it up, what are you doing? You didn't work all day. Paperwork, all this kind of stuff, they're prerequisites. It's like the game of hockey. You have a hockey puck. That doesn't score goals, but it's necessary. That's paperwork. It's the stick handling. So just make sure you're doing, ooh, look at that, eh? Transition using questions. Not next we have this, next we have this, next we have this. Hey, did you have a car written off before? Oh, yeah? Well, what happened? Build on it. Build on the things before you. When you go to tire coverage, I know some of it's included in the deal, but you can say, hey, do you see those tires on there? Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, they're 20 inches. Do you know how much the rubber is on that? It's super expensive. Like back in the days, every tire used to be 16-inch. Dealership buys them in bulk. You have an issue, we just replace it. What? Your tire right there, we don't buy in bulk. That's about $400. Before you're gonna tell a customer, do you want tire coverage? Let them know how much a tire is, because we're assuming it's $100. My tire is $450. You bought a tire recently, $500. Tires ain't cheap anymore. They're cheap anymore. They ain't cheap. Confidence. Doesn't mean you have to have it fully and know your stuff, but you have to have that voice. And if you don't know, be confident. The customer say, let me figure it out. But none of this, sorry I have to ask you this question, but it doesn't work. They're relying on your confidence. If I came in here and Mickey Mouse, oh guys, they look shaking and stuff, same words, you'd be like, who is this clown? Let our customers, give them the duty of care to understand and lean on us for their strength. Be prepared for the no, don't be surprised, and 300% rule. 100% of the products, 100% of the time, 100% of the customers. Or only use these tools when you want to be successful. Really, because they're tools under your tool belt. Now, here's some of the more, I want you to be very mindful of this stuff. Take time to prepare your menu, speed kills. You know, Disneyland is very smart because their lineups are huge. But you know what their philosophy is? As long as someone inching forward every 30 seconds, they see progress, they're good. So some of us is in a rush for no reason. You have a customer here that you're dealing with. You know you have a customer waiting for you. So you're rushing this one through so you can get to that customer. Well, here's a simple way to do it. You're dealing with this customer. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, if you give me 1 second, I have a client waiting in the lounge. I just want to excuse myself to let them know how long this process will be. Go to that customer in the lounge. Mr. or Mrs. Customer, I'm only going to be about 45 minutes. I'm the only one here today, so if you can hang tight, I'll see you shortly. They will wait. They see progress. But if you're sitting there and they're sitting here, they're silent suffered. How long is it going to take? How long? And the salesperson, you know what they're telling them? Oh, probably another 5 minutes. So you respect this customer when you do that, and you go show that customer they're just going to love you. No one's going to give you kickback. So just remember, respect the hand that feeds you. Because when the executive team or the management team say, could you move that car over there? Sure. You go move the car, right? But when a customer calls sometimes, are you returning their phone call? Oh, I didn't know what warranty it is. You signed here, did you? So just remember, who's really paying the bills? Nobody pays the bills but the customers coming in. Now, the ones who's coming in, how are we treating them? And that will give us a key to some of our success. Persistence is key. Like I said, show them the different glasses. You got to keep going. You don't stop at the first no. No means no, not right now. Ask me some more later and I'll give you some more information. This is huge. The old you will be fighting the new you. This is going to be your biggest battle. Let me tell you something. You can't hold on to the old and hold on to the new. Pick one. Pick one. So it's going to show up in this. You're going to be role-playing, and you feel discomfort. That's change. The moment you feel comfort, question yourself. Comfort doesn't pay no bills. A ship at port is safe. That's not what they're made for. Do you want to develop skills or do you want problems? You decide. But a skillful captain wasn't made in calm waters. So let these customers help you develop your skills, but grow your skills and don't be stuck in the same repetitive pattern. So just remember, the old you is going to fight the new you, and I'll give you another example because this one's strong. Because I want to know what you're going to face. It's not going to be a gradual, it's not going to be an instant change because you're going to fight some of the internal talk. So imagine, red means stop, green means go. We know that. Imagine society said, hey, we don't like that. We want to change it around. Red means go, green means stop. Okay, we know red means go, Green means stop. But we're going to see some green lights, and we'll go right through the green light. They're going to be like, oh gosh, what did I just do? What I mean is you're going to be aware when you finish a delivery what you could have did better. Take that as a win. Because eventually when you go, again, you're going to be just right before. And eventually it's going to become natural. Change is not you fight change, you earn change. If I just gave you change right now, you would know what to do with it because we can't appreciate something we didn't work for. So you have to work for it. So when you earn it, you know, I earned this. But if someone gives it to you, it doesn't make the same. So just remember this. It comes in the form of discomfort, but it leads to all the comfort. So commit to change. Choose your pill. The pill of change means, okay, you got to do it, fight through it, but guess what? You get a good feeling after. Now, the other one, you don't change. Over time, every day it chews at you, and eventually you become feeling like worthless. Choose your pain, you're choosing one, okay? So choose the one that leads to change and commitment right away. Expect fluctuations when you go back. You just learned something new. You're trying something new. Give it a shot. Give it 90 days. You're going to see the difference. I didn't just come out here because I have good words to say. I lived this process. I practically, this is a process I designed from scratch. Took piece from this, but I applied it. It works. I'm not going around the place teaching this stuff because I want to make a paycheck. I want to make change. And if you don't apply yourself, there's no change. Expect that. And don't judge. You need a large sample size of deal. If we treated people the same way we treat ourselves, we'd be locked up. Look, sometimes we're not catching things. We're saying, oh, what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. Everybody did the best they can with what they have right now. You can't do better. But as you practice more, it gets better and better. So just remember, you got to own this. Because if you don't own this, who's going to do it for you? This is your opportunity right now. So often enough, we want better. Everyone here wants to be better, right? I would assume so. So what happens? How does better look? You say to the universe you want better, they open a door for you. Guess what? Are you going to close the door? So that's the choice you have to make because you ask for better, you're getting the information. Okay, other than that, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate everyone. I do this for passion. It means so much to me. I have a meaning so big. I want to be the #1 Canadian speaker in the world for mindset. And that's what allows me to weather every storm and come down here and stand in front of you guys and do this. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. From my heart. Thank you.